Hey guys, thanks for checking out the RCWR Show. Make sure you show the ultimate fan support and follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the RCWR Show. Also, support the show on patreon.com/RCWR Show for exclusive content that you're not going to be able to find anywhere else, such as our original 30 with Lee series covering the very latest and current movies and throwback movies. Also, check out cafepress.com/RCWR Show for original cool merchandise created from the mind and hands of yours truly and friends. cafepress.com/the RCWR Show, and stay connected to us on our website at infinityoneproductions.com.
Warning, the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond since 2011, you're listening to the RCWR Show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
And what is going on for this Tuesday night, March 14th, 2017? You're checking out an all-new The RCWR Show. It's your host right here, Black Avenger, a.k.a. The Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. How the hell are y'all doing, man? Great to be back doing this show with you all tonight. A lot of stuff to get into. I couldn't wait to do this episode. I tell you, I love it when we get these weeks in between the shows where there's so much stuff that comes about that we can kick back on this episode and reminisce about. I definitely want to get you all's input. As always, you can catch me at a couple of different outlets. Twitter at the RCWR Show, Facebook as well at the same name. You can also grab my attention in the chat that we have active right now via Spreaker.com. Feel free to pop your head on in there and say hello. So, hey, hope the weekend was pretty solid for you all. Mine was pretty relaxful. I gotta admit, though, being here in the nation's capital, being here in the DMV area, seeing once again a situation come about where, we have this state of emergency in Maryland, we have a state of emergency in Virginia, DC, it's not really looking too good for you all, but for the most part, you all are really just going to get freezing rain, so for the most part, you guys are okay, but everybody else, yeah, it's like the end of the world for you guys, because we got the governors left and right talking about state of emergency. My area was supposedly gonna get like 6 to 10 plus inches of snow, but that did not go down. If anything, honestly, what I've been seeing most of the day, barely an inch, maybe a slight bit more, but honestly, it really kind of came off like it was about an inch, and we've really had freezing rain. So everybody over here just tripped for no damn apparent reason when it's all said and done. And that is the DMV for you. I tell you guys, I keep telling fellow DMV residents, and some of them get a little bit offended, but most of them, they actually feel where I'm coming from and they have a hearty chuckle themselves. I tell them always, man, DMV, when it comes to the snow, you guys act like a bunch of wussies. Like, how the hell would you all make it in Chicago? And that is so accurate right now with how everybody was tripping over this supposed snowstorm that was going to be coming about. Nothing happened when it was all said and done. Everybody tripping for no reason when it's all said and done. But you know what? It is what it is. If anything, we got a little bit of black ice that we're dealing with in a lot of areas. Go figure, especially with the freezing temperatures that we have right now. Overnight, tonight, going into Thursday morning, the black ice that we have that's going to continue to build tonight going into Wednesday morning is really going to be the telling tale in itself, for the simple fact temperatures over here is supposedly going to dip down into the single digits. So that's going to be tremendously bad if you're going to be out there on the road. So special shout out to those of you that's going to be in the DMV area. You're going to be traveling on those roads. Give yourself enough time to get to point A to point B. Make sure you have a lot of patience out there on those roads, and make sure your tires are on point. Can't stress that enough. Of course, as always, if you can help it and you really don't have to be out there on the road, then definitely stay off of the road. But yeah, a lot of stuff that we need to get into. So I just kindly want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. We got WrestleMania right around the corner. Yes, there will be some really cool prize giveaways that I'm going to be doing. In case you all have forgot, we're currently doing the poll survey that we have for the 2016 RCWR Wrestling Awards. I want you guys to take part in that. You can check it out by entering the following URL, and if you missed this, it is in the episode description. But I want you to head on over to tinyurl.com/RCWR Show Awards. Actually, let me start that over again. It's been so long since I've promoted this. Let me give that to you guys one more time. It's tinyurl.com/2016, the actual numbers, RCWR Awards. And you have until Saturday, April 1st, 2017 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern to enter this. I want you guys to cast your votes. Let your voices be heard on who you think is deserving of some of the wrestling category awards that we have up for grabs. Whether it's Feud of the Year, Crappiest Wrestler of the Year, what's your tag team of the year? It doesn't matter if it's WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Lucha Underground, Evolve, you name the promotion, you name the talents, everything is up for grabs. We got some really cool prizes that's going to be up for grabs. I got in contact with some of my people for some more goodies, and the kitty, let me tell you, the kitty is going to be even more sweeter. I look forward to telling you all about some of the prizes that we got in store for you all, in addition to what we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks. But take advantage of that. We're going to reveal the winners on that Sunday night's WrestleMania 33 after show. So if you haven't gotten that jump start, do so right now. We're about 3+ weeks away from WrestleMania, and I gotta tell you, man, the road to WrestleMania is really starting to shape up. I got WWE RAW this week. We'll talk a little bit about Smackdown later on during the show, but Raw this week, we kind of got a little bit of, okay, those were some decent moments that we had got. By the way, really appreciate you guys that took the time out to cast your vote on what you had thought about Monday's WWE Raw. Got about 5 days left for those of you that maybe want to cast your vote right now on what you thought about WWE Raw for this week. Right now, we got about 9% of you that decided you were going to skip it, or by accident you missed it. We have 23% of you that felt it was a bad show. 25% of you felt that it was an awesome show, and an overwhelming 43% of you, holding steady right now, felt as though it was a average show. If you want to get in on that, you can go on twitter.com/the RCWR Show, and when you go check out my Twitter profile page, that is the first pinned tweet that you will see. So feel free to cash your vote on that bad boy. So really, some of the key points that we got from Monday's WWE Raw, we saw HBK, Shawn Michaels, he returned. Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, they returned as well. Mick Foley was at a crossroads, courtesy of Stephanie McMahon. Raw came to us tonight. I'm not really sure what city it was in right now. I want to say maybe Detroit, but don't quote me on that one. But we saw Stephanie McMahon early on during the night put Mick Foley in this very difficult position. She basically offered Foley to teach him some of what she's been able to learn over the years, as honestly, what Stephanie McMahon hopes to do is improve Foley going forward. She really wants to reestablish the Foley-McMahon connection. So Stephanie gives Foley his first true test tonight. She tells him that there's about 10% of unneeded fat on the Raw roster, and that as a result, somebody needs to go. Somebody needs to be fired tonight, despite the fact that we're 3+ weeks away from WrestleMania. So Stephanie says to Mick Foley, look, I need you to get out there. I need you to think. You got until the end of the night, but I want you to come on out at the end of the night, and I need for you to trim the fat. Trimming the fat, firing who you feel is really a weak link right now on our Raw roster, really sets the right tone. It puts the right message out there as far as trying to become a better product. And as she's walking away from this, she really does not look, Mick Foley that is, he really does not look that happy. And we just see Mick Foley, who's just very conflicted all throughout the night, trying to figure out who exactly he was going to be firing. And at the end of the night, and honestly for me, and this is why we're kind of kicking off Raw, the discussion of it, by talking about this, because honestly, that was pretty much like, wow, good, strong finish for the entire night. So Mick Foley comes out right along with Stephanie McMahon, and Stephanie's like, so you've had all night. I'm sure you're very conflicted right now, but let's go ahead. Let's reveal it to the WWE Universe. Those watching at home, who did you decide to fire? Foley admits he wasn't really fond of this task, but he knows that the decision that he has come across at the very end, it will make him a better general manager in the long haul, and it'll make him be a better person overall. The person that he decides to fire is none other than, drumroll please, Stephanie McMahon. This gets a unanimous yes chant that just starts up big time, and this just roaring. So Stephanie, extremely pissed off, she's like, you can't not fire me. There's no way you can do that. You know you can't do that. That's not how this is set up. So to even go that route, look, all joking aside, come on, this was a good haha moment, but I want a name right now. Who are you gonna fire? And Foley admits that he has treasured his 18-year relationship with Stephanie until recently, where Foley calls Stephanie a bad liar, and as a result, she's a bad person. He starts ranting on Triple H, and Stephanie asks Foley that if he really wants to find out how bad she can really be, she'll gladly goes there, and she actually starts insulting Foley, but he's not backing down. Soon enough, next thing you know, we hear the music of Triple H come on. That got a huge pop from the crowd. I was like glued to the TV at this moment because I'm trying to see like exactly how this is going to go down. Always an awesome moment when we see Triple H, Mick Foley in the middle of the ring. Now, I don't know about you guys, but you all that go back to the Attitude Era days, like for sure since Mick Foley has been in this role, I have like been wondering like, okay, we've kind of seen a brush off here and there of Foley, Triple H kind of staring at each other, no words being said, but like that was only maybe on like 2 occasions maximum, but they have actually talked at great length in the middle of a ring in front of the crowd. Like, when are we going to see that moment? That was something I was always wondering. So to see this finally go down, I was ecstatic. So Triple H begins to tell Foley some really crude things to his face. And Foley kind of kicks it off by saying to Triple H, well, I'm glad you're here. I really wasn't sure if you were real or not, because every time I turn around, you're usually kind of like hiding in the shadows. Triple H tells him, man, I am not really that hard to find. Like, do you know what I'm doing every day? I'm like running a business. I don't need to have a lawsuit this close to WrestleMania as he threatens to rip Mick Foley's bad leg off. They go back and forth trading insults. Triple H tells him, look, if I could have had it my way, dude, you so would not have been given this position, because honestly, I'm working hard at creating the future, so I don't have to look at pathetic has-beens like you. And Triple H says Stephanie really, really likes Foley. She tries to do her best to amuse him. And at this point, you heard a little bit, well, actually not a little bit, you heard a lot of CM Punk chants that started up, but it did not defer Triple H. He goes there, continues on with his promo, telling Mick Foley, look, do not underestimate Stephanie. She is every bit of a businesswoman that Vince McMahon taught her to be. Triple H tells Foley that, Foley is really close to being in a position where he's going to be dragging his pathetic ass all around the globe, telling his stupid stories about the man that he used to be. Foley comes right back. Look, I don't really need this company. Takes his teeth out and says, look, I'm happy with who I see when I look in the mirror every day. Triple H comes right back. That's great that you like how you look when you look at yourself in the mirror. But, I wonder how your kids would feel about you no longer being with the company. And he brings up the fact that Noelle, she's got these dreams to be in the WWE, working as a diva. His son Dewey, he's working back at the WWE headquarters. And he tells him, hey, I'm sure that maybe Dewey would be willing to give you a ride to the unemployment office. And at this point, Triple H pretty much tells Mick, get the hell out of the ring, take your ass to the back, tuck your tail in between your legs, and the next time you come out here, you show up ready and chippery, ready to go to work, ecstatic to be at work. And when Stephanie tells you to jump, you fucking ask how high, you monkey, or climb up a tree. You say how high, you monkey. He actually called Mick Foley a monkey. And after that, Triple H was just continuing to talk crap. Stephanie then was continuing to talk smack. We then saw Mick Foley. He put Mr. Sacco into the mouth of Triple H. Stephanie came right up from behind. Mick Foley underneath delivered a good strong low blow. That sent Mick Foley crashing down to the floor. Looked as though maybe Triple H was going to do a nice, good, strong beating on Foley. I don't know about you all, but I thought for sure we were going to maybe see Foley sell a pedigree when we heard the music of Seth frickin' Rollins come out. Seth Rollins coming out with a crutch as he's just hobbling down to the ring. Triple H looking on. Yeah, come on, get in here. Get your ass beat up again. I'm fine for it. Come on, I'm down. Well, Seth Rollins takes that crutch, puts it up in the air, drops it, and pretty much you knew at that point Seth Rollins' knee is 100%. He actually runs, slides in the ring, and him and Triple H, they start brawling. We saw Seth, he gets the upper hand at first, sends Triple H flying out the ring. Triple H eventually comes back in with that same crutch, and we saw Rollins drop him. As Rollins, he just continues to unload, hits the ropes, but Triple H is able to connect with a good strike to that bad knee with the crutch. And Triple H, from there, we then see him get put into a figure 4 submission hold. Rollins screaming his butt off as Stephanie is yelling from ringside. And we see officials, they come in, they're trying to break the whole thing up. And pretty much Raw just goes off that way, with Rollins clutching his leg as Triple H just continues to look on. That was a really good, strong ending, I must say. And it's nice that we're now not going to insult the wrestling fans' intelligence up to this point, because it was like, Seth, whatever you do, don't show up at WrestleMania. Don't show up. And it's like, okay, we know the match is going to go down, so can we just go there already? So the fact that we had this segment play out should solidify without a shadow of doubt that probably next week it's going to be announced Triple H, Seth Rollins. And I think that's awesome. But this was a really good, strong ending, because honestly, I think if you put that ending to the side, because I gotta admit, when I think about how Raw opened up with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, which we'll talk about in a few seconds, it was a pretty lackluster episode, I must admit, when you just put it to the side. But that was a good, strong finish that now has you wondering, how is Triple H or how is Seth Rollins gonna respond to what came about from this week's Raw on next week's programming? So that was kind of like a nice, good cliffhanger right there. There was also a couple of other seeds that were planted on Raw this week that kind of made you go, okay, where are we going for next week's episode? And one of the other things, let's talk about how Raw had kicked off. I love that it kicked off with Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman. Not really much of nothing with the promo that Paul Heyman put out there. Heyman was just basically mocking Goldberg for getting that F5 last week. Heyman would go on to say that, when it's all said and done, Brock Lesnar will be the one that's going to be going up, meaning he's going to be taking away that Universal title at WrestleMania, and Goldberg will be going down courtesy of a F5. That pretty much was it in a nutshell. We didn't see those guys pretty much for the rest of the night. We saw Sasha Banks in a match against Dana Brooke, of which Sasha Banks had won. But the real story that came was post-match, as Charlotte was with Dana. Charlotte gets a microphone and she tells Dana, "You're just not good enough to stand beside me anymore. You've had opportunities after opportunities. I'm done with you." And we saw Dana just finally flip the hell out, and she decked Charlotte out of nowhere, gave her a nice good beat down, sending her to the floor. Charlotte can't believe it, as the two, they were just going at it. Eventually, Dana tells her to come on, bring it, but Charlotte quickly makes her exit. Actually got a bit of a good pop from the crowd. I gotta say, this was probably the first time ever since Dana Brooke has been on the main WWE roster that the crowd was actually like in her freaking favor. They were actually like giving her that backing support. And I think when it's all said and done, when you just look at the alliance between Dana Brooke and Charlotte Flair, for me personally, for the longest time, especially when we started to see the Charlotte Flair character verbally just cut down to size, Dana Brooke, it really didn't make that much sense from the standpoint of why is Dana continuing to allow herself to be degraded like this by Charlotte? Like, what is it? What is it that like is keeping her connected? There's got to be something there, and that was never exploited, boys and girls. And I got to follow up on what I had said a couple of weeks ago. And now that Dana Brooke has finally backed away from Charlotte, this just enhances the question, well, why did you go through all of this abuse for so long anyway? And it comes back to the really great idea that I had mentioned several weeks, off and on a couple of months back on this very show. And I got to stress it again. And now more than ever, WWE needs to like connect the dots as far as storyline consistency and validating why Dana has been with Charlotte up to this point. Plain and simple. Simple storyline. Even if it's not true, you can definitely go there. You can just say that Dana Brooke, when she was a kid, she had a very difficult time finding friends. She had a very difficult time making friends because she was a chubby little girl when it's all said and done. And most girls, they know how it is when you're a bit chubby, when you're kind of chunky, you get picked on. The name calling, the hazing, the works. So it was really hard for her, other than her parents. Look, if Dana has a brother or another sister, basically other than immediate family, honestly, she was a loner. And that basically had continued on until she got into her high school sophomore year or whatever, when she came across a teacher by the name, I don't know, some fucking dude, right? And basically she could say that because of this gym teacher, like early on when she was in high school, he pretty much had got her hooked on gymnastics. And that pretty much had led into bodybuilding. And maybe she could talk about how there was somebody that she had befriended when she was doing her gym classes that turns out was into bodybuilding, and pretty much one thing had led into another. And that's what really had started to get her really thinking, hey, look, this is kind of good. This maybe is going to turn my life around for the better. And she started to see the results and losing the weight, but the more and more that she got into the whole bodybuilding, she kind of realized that, like, although she was looking better than ever, she wasn't chubby anymore, right? Now that she had 6-pack abs, now that she had muscles and she had shoulders, to some, she was looking like a freak. She was looking like, like, that's not really a woman. That's like a dude. Anybody can relate to that. Keep it simple is where I'm going with this. And you could even say, look, when she first came to the WWE, and she was down in NXT, she pretty much was coming across almost like the same problem, even though she kind of felt confidence in her ability to do what she needed to do in the ring. She really did not feel respected and appreciated amongst her peers. She felt like an outcast. She felt like a freak still, because she just was not being accepted for who she was. And quite honestly, she can say that when it came to Charoltte Flair, she felt that originally Charlotte was somebody that had really taken a liking to her, that early on she was the one that really went out of her way to take her under the wing and try to show her the ropes and basically say what she thought she was getting from Charlotte, who she really looked up to a lot, because it's Charolette Flair. It's the Flair family. For Christ's sake, to be that close to greatness. She honestly was just in awe. She was blinded by all of that, yes, it did hurt, some of the verbal lashing, the physical treatment that she would get from Charlotte, but she was willing to look past that because she knew that at the end of the day, Charlotte was just giving her tough love and just trying to show her, look, you gotta be tougher than that. You gotta be better than that if you want to excel on the roster. But honestly, Dana can just finally say, hey, honestly, some people have to come to that crossroads themselves. And I finally came to that crossroads, which is basically, I really realized that Charlotte really was not trying to take me under her wing and really trying to show me the ropes. She basically was just trying to have there be some type of a bodyguard, policy insurance to make sure that she's able to win her matches, title or not. She's always able to get the upper hand, and I'm not going to continue to play fiddle to that anymore. I'm not going to continue to be degraded or, I'm beautiful, I'm confident. And the biggest mistake that she ever made was treating me the way that she treated me. If you kind of connect the dots that way, I'm not saying officially that is the blueprint that WWE needs to go. They can probably tweak that. You all that's listening can probably tweak that a little bit more yourselves. But if they can just kind of start with that basic rough draft, that is enough right there to really kind of explain the hiccups that we've seen with the Dana Brooke character all these months. Now, of course, you have some people that are looking at this. Oh, Dana Brooke is finally on the rise. Well, wait a minute, folks. That was just one episode, just 1 week. We are still in WrestleMania season. Honestly, let's see what happens leading up to WrestleMania. But most importantly, let's see what goes down post WrestleMania to see where exactly this goes with the Dana Brooke character. I would just hope that with the unanimous reaction that the fans gave to Dana, that this could perhaps put Dana in a position, at least amongst the WWE writers, well, maybe we finally have something right here. Let's see if maybe we can kind of go there. And quite honestly, I hate to say this, the last thing you want to do is kill momentum. But I think honestly, one of the things that you're going to have to do right now, at least until WrestleMania, you're going to have to do something with Dana Brooke. You're going to have to either have Charlotte or a combination of Nia Jax assault Dana in the back, and you're going to have to shelve her for a couple of weeks, at least until WrestleMania is over, then bring her back into the fold. Because I think, honestly, there is enough of a program that's right here. Charlotte can definitely carry the hell out of Dana. I will admit, Dana, she's still green, but she is improving. If you were to ask me who's improving more in the ring as far as Nia Jax, Dana, I've got to give the edge a bit more to Dana. So I'm curious to see what happens in the weeks to come, but must say I was quite taken back by what went down with that particular segment. Some other action that came about from WWE Raw this week. We saw some cruiserweight action as the team of Tony Nese and Brian Kendrick had defeated Akira Tozawa and TJ Perkins, which, by the way, need to remind you guys that on this week's 205 Live, there is going to be a 5-way match. You heard me right. There is going to be a 5-way match to determine who is going to go on to WrestleMania and face the king of the cruiserweights, Neville, for his Cruiserweight title. It's a Fatal 5-Way elimination match that features Austin Aries taking on Tony Nese, TJ Perkins, Brian Kendrick, and Akira Tozawa. So that should be a pretty solid 205 that we got coming up. We saw Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They fought each other once again, but this go round it was a tag match. Kevin Owens teamed up with Samoa Joe to face the team of Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho. Zayn and Jericho picking up the win. Pretty decent matchup. Looks as though Big Show, his match against Shaquille O'Neal, looks as though right now it's not going to be happening, as Big Show had declared himself as a entrant in this year's annual Andre the Giant Battle Memorial match. Yeah, honestly, I never really believed that the match was going to go down. If you ask me straight up, what does this come down to? I think a couple of things, but there's two that really jump out at me right now. I think the money that Shaq was willing to go out there and do it for, I don't think him and the WWE could really iron it out and really get that hammer down finally. And I think the second part of that, when it's all said and done, Shaquille O'Neal, look, he still has the guns from what I've seen of him. He is still Big Diesel, but he is Big Diesel in the wrong areas. And honestly, when it's all said and done, to have Big Show in the phenomenal shape that he's in right now, really trying to take this seriously, and for Shaquille O'Neal, I think quite honestly, Shaquille O'Neal was probably under the impression that, okay, I'm just going to be able to wallsy on up in here. I'm going to be able to do 1, 2, 3, and it's going to be a quick 3 minutes, and then I'm out of here. But I think he probably realized, especially talking to his people and everything, I think he really realized that, you know what, I'm not quite at the age that I would like to be doing something like this. I think when it's all said and done, if it was a Shaquille O'Neal from maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago for sure, yeah, we would definitely have this match. Make no mistake about it. But Shaq is old. Those knees are beat up. Let alone what's going on with his weight. I mean, have you guys really seen him? Those of you that are basketball fans, have you seen him on TNT Thursday nights? I mean, he's a big boy. He has blossomed big time. Still got the shoulders, still got the arms, still has the wide out chest, but that tummy is pretty big. But you know what? For a big guy, what would you expect? Quite honestly. But I think just the fact that Shaquille O'Neal has not shown any pictures of himself throughout social media, working out, trying to at least remotely take this encounter with Big Show seriously, I think that's just the proof in the pudding that perhaps this was never going to happen in the first place. Now, some people may still hold out a little bit of hope that maybe Shaquille O'Neal is going to pop up in this Battle Royal match. I could entertain the idea of that maybe happening, but do you maybe do that and then build towards SummerSlam? I'm not sure, guys. Me personally, I would just leave it alone. If I was the WWE, I would just leave this alone already when it's all said and done. Some other stuff that happened on WWE Raw this week. We saw a squash match. Jinder Mahal, Roman Reigns. Heard Undertaker's gong music go off. That had kind of got into the psyche of Roman Reigns, but he was still able to deliver, as he did not one but two Superman punches to Jinder Mahal to pick up the 1, 2, 3. Afterwards, he grabbed the microphone to call out The Undertaker. Well, we didn't get The Undertaker. Instead, we got WWE Hall of Famer HBK Shawn Michaels. Even though he blocked the RCWR show on Twitter, I still respect the guy. I still respect his in-ring talents. I respect everything that he has done for the sport of pro wrestling. And to say I do not smile when he comes out, I'd be lying. I still smile to this day, despite the fact that he's blocked us. I still smile when I see this guy come out. So Reigns tells HBK, hey, look, it's cool to see you. Detroit obviously loves you, but I called out The Undertaker, man. I didn't call you out. Michaels is like, look, I saw what went down just now, and you're coming off distracted and you're unfocused. And he basically tells Roman Reigns, Taker is far ready, and he's like already deep in your head right now. And keeping that in mind, if you don't get focused real quick, Taker's going to eat you alive at WrestleMania. Reigns comes right back, tells him, man, look, that's not going to happen. You're tripping. And look, I appreciate everything that you've done, but no disrespect, you did not beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And that kind of got the crowd going, ooh. And HBK acknowledges that, look, hey, Reigns, this may be your yard now, but let's at least acknowledge the fact that the guy you're talking to right now is Mr. Frickin' WrestleMania. And, you know, he pretty much tells Reigns, look, you better come out there. You better come out there with your A game. Look, I've always been a fan of yours. I've always been a supporter of yours. You know that, but this is a guy you cannot take him lightly. And Reigns pretty much ends the segment by telling him he's going to be the guy that retires Taker. He puts the microphone down and makes his way up to the ramp. And as he's making his way up to the ramp, he looks back at HBK one more time. But by the time he turns back around, Braun Strowman comes out of nowhere and hits him like a damn diesel truck out of nowhere. Nice, good, cheap shot. Braun stares at HBK, threatens to do the same to him if he wanted to. This got a huge pop from the crowd as they started chanting, "Thank you, Strowman." Interesting development going down right there. I love that segment. I love some of the memes and I love some of the captions that we got as a result of this segment, which was really hilarious. I put up one myself and I'm actually pulling it up right now via Twitter as, what I said was with that whole gif, I basically said, when you're eyeballing that fly honey that went past you and you forget the light is now red as you stand in the middle of the street. And that had got a few people chuckling on that one. There was another cool one I saw where it said, life really hits at you fast sometimes. And then you see that one. It's just a lot of hilarious captions that's out there. Roman and WWE, I don't think that's what they had intended, but that's actually what went down instead. But I had really enjoyed that. And it's nice to see that WWE realizes, hey man, we continue to have something here with Braun, Roman Reigns. I look forward, honestly, after WrestleMania for these two guys to continue their feud. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. This is not going to be squashed on the road to WrestleMania. I don't personally feel they got something right here that can take it up probably 2 additional Raw brand pay-per-views when it's all said and done. But other than that action that came about on WWE Raw this week, honestly, everything else was pretty lackluster. I must admit, really wasn't anything else really noteworthy to be talking about, quite honestly. We finally saw a situation come about where Bayley, she was facing Nia Jax 101. Nia Jax felt that she was slighted and not getting the opportunity to be at WrestleMania to try to compete for the Raw Women's title, at which Stephanie McMahon concurred and said, look, you know what? I'm going to put you in a match against the WWE Raw Women's Champion, that is, Bayley. It's going to be a non-title matchup, though. And we saw Nia Jax, she was going to work, but when it was all said and done, last few moments of the match, we saw Nia connect with a headbutt and shoulder thrust to the corner, and the referee was warning her to stop before he called the match, and eventually he did call the match, so Bayley had won via DQ. But Nia Jax, she just continued her assault. She turns Bayley upside down, works her over. Referee managed to get in the way, frees Bayley as Nia tries to leave the ring. But then she actually pulls Bayley to the floor, launches her into the barrier. Nia hits to the back as her music pretty much plays. So nice to see that Nia Jax is somewhat still kind of involved in the picture. How much of a role, though, is she going to be playing in the weeks to come leading up to WrestleMania? Is she going to be able to force her way in there? Or is she maybe going to have a Kane in your house moment where she just lays a whole bunch of bodies out for that Raw Women's title match at WrestleMania? Inquiring minds want to know. But again, Raw this week, it was pretty lackluster when it's all said and done. I'm not going to even talk about the lame ass New Day segment that we saw New Day talks. I thought that was just the drizzling shits when it was all said and done. And one more time, Want to go back to you all again. If you want to cast your vote on what you thought about WWE Raw this week, you can right now. We got the poll open for another 5 days for those of you that want to cast your votes. Right again, just to recap, we have 9% of you that were going to skip Raw, or you felt that, you were missing it. We have 23% of you that felt it was a bad show. 25% of you felt it was an awesome show. And a overwhelming 43% of you felt that it was a average show. So, coming up next on the RCWR Show, we are going to talk about what came about with WWE Smackdown. I'm going to give you guys just a brief recap on my thoughts about the first new era edition of Impact Wrestling that we had got on Pop TV, as a show we hadn't done in a long time came back, and it's now back on a regular basis. I'm talking about Impact Showdown. I'll give you the skinny on that. We'll also talk about the new interesting developments that has come about with the Broken Hardys, Reby Hardy, and Anthem and Impact Wrestling, as it is just a nasty legal battle that is underway right now that had a big part in playing with Ring of Honor's 15th anniversary pay-per-view event. We'll talk all about that, also the latest in wrestling headlines and more. But first, a very important word from our sponsors.
The hidden secrets of shame and infidelity are all too common and negatively affects individuals, families, children, and communities. Let's not hide behind closed doors while suffering in silence. Instead, let's bring awareness to the hurt and pain this behavior causes. Let's support those who are suffering behind those walls of shame, pity, blame, and embarrassment. And let's seek to make a positive and social change in this behavior, as together we can, but we must not be afraid to rise up and raise awareness. Come take part in the 2017 Infidelity Hurts Virtual Summit. There is no need to leave home or travel this year as we celebrate the 3rd annual Infidelity Hurts Awareness Day, because we are bringing this extraordinary event to you. Join us for the Infidelity Hurts 2017 Virtual Summit from the comfort of your home, anywhere there is an internet connection or even by telephone. Our phenomenal presenters are ready to inform, educate, share, support, and encourage you, and you can participate in this virtual summit event free of charge. That's right, free of charge. Topics include addressing the stigma of infidelity, working through painful triggers and guilt, occurrence of infidelity even in happy marriages, forgiveness, prevention of infidelity, healing for the family as a whole, including for the children, overcoming blame, understanding the reasons behind betrayal, dependency on a lifestyle with a spouse that prevents leaving a relationship, ending the relationship and creating life anew, and so much more. In order to participate in this event and to learn more information on the 2017 Infidelity Hurts Virtual Summit happening Saturday, May 6th, head on over to www.infidelityhurtsawarenessday.org. That's www.infidelityhurtsawarenessday.org. And take part in this free Infidelity Hurts 2017 Virtual Summit happening Saturday, May 6, 2017. To enter and to learn more information, head over to www.infidelityhurtsawarenessday.org. Millions around the world suffer the loss of a loved one each and every year, and the painful emotions of grief can seem unbearable. Have you ever wanted to help somebody that is going through these painful emotions of grief? Well, now you can help. As a From Grief to Gratitude certified coach, you might be the last house on the block for someone looking for help and much needed support. How would it feel to coach someone from pain to peace, from heartache to happiness, from grief to gratitude? How would it feel to enrich the lives of others as well as your own life? Answer this compassionate call right now in becoming a From Grief to Gratitude certified coach right now by heading on over to www.fromgrieftoGratitudecoach.com. Your path to positivity and enriching the lives of others can begin right now by heading on over to www.fromgrieftoGratitudecoach.com. That's www.fromgrieftoGratitudecoach.com.
Hey guys, Lee here. All month long, we're asking you all to tell a friend, family member about a podcast that they'll love. Now, take this moment right now as you're listening. Think about a friend, a relative, anyone that you care about, and think about what podcast they'd really love. I really do hope you're going to tell them about the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders. Okay, so do you have that podcast in mind now? Great. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell them about it in real life, or better yet, on social media. And if they don't know anything about podcasts, I want you to show them all about it. Afterwards, I want for you to tell us what you recommended by using the hashtag TRYPOD. That's TRYPOD. TRYPOD. Use the hashtag TRYPOD. And I do hope you mention the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders. But in all seriousness, thanks for spreading the word. Continue to enjoy this episode. All right, so that was a break from our sponsors. We are back live with you guys right now. So we're going to talk a little bit about Smackdown. Not really that much jumps out at my mind this week for Smackdown, although I must admit overall it was a well executed episode. I did have it playing respectfully in the background as I honestly was in front of the computer trying to put down the finishing touches on what all I wanted to bring about tonight as far as discussion goes on this very episode, which, by the way, I hope you all are really enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, you can do me a huge favor. There is a little small heart icon that has the text like, or maybe if you're accessing this via the Spreaker app or whatnot, it might just be a little heart. Click on that bad boy. Enough of those hearts. It really helps suggest this episode on the Spreaker platform to potential newer listeners that maybe they like to talk of wrestling and all things beyond, but they haven't quite discovered our show just yet. That's your way of helping them out. You can help the show out by doing that. Thank you in advance for that. But really, I want to home in on just a couple of key things that really jumped out at my mind for this week's Smackdown, as really the tone that was placed last week, which was how was AJ Styles officially gonna retaliate to the events that had came about on last week's Smackdown. We saw that confrontation that came about after Smackdown went off the air, as it was a WWE.com exclusive, where Shane McMahon, AJ Styles, they have a war of the words, if you will. And going into tonight's episode, we see that AJ Styles, he's frustrated. He's got some stuff that he wants to get off of his chest. We see him pretty much kick things off on SmackDown as he's telling the crowd that's there in attendance, like, he's getting sick and tired of personally being screwed around with by Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. And he thinks that, hey, you think that because you're the greatest WWE superstar, like the red carpet would have been rolled out for you. In his case, he's talking about himself, and that as far as a path to WrestleMania, it being unlocked, not so much, because when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, he found himself to be like in a continuing situation where he's getting the runaround. He's involved in all these monkey wrench type of matches whether it's taking on John Cena or it's a situation where he's got to go to the Elimination Chamber, just every time you turn around, something is always being thrown in AJ Styles' way. And he thought for sure that with this whole Battle Royal thing that came about a couple of weeks ago, and he won his match against Luke Harper, all right, he's pretty much punched in his ticket. But then we see some scenario come about where, well, wait a minute, now we got Randy Orton. He's saying he wants to take that shot at Bray Wyatt. So AJ just feeling really, really frustrated when it's all said and done. And we see AJ Styles, he pretty much walked away from the ring saying there was going to be a serious conversation later on tonight with Shane McMahon about AJ's career, as if he's even going to be having one by the time he's done. So that pretty much was like a prelude as far as things that were going to be coming about later on during the night. Later on during the night, let's just go there right now. We see footage of AJ Styles all throughout the night when SmackDown is getting ready to maybe take a commercial break, or they're getting ready to make the transition into their next match. We see AJ Styles is actually backstage waiting in looks like a garage type of area, waiting for the vehicle of Shane McMahon to pull up so he can have these words. Well, we see AJ Styles, finally he gets his moment as a car pulls up, and it's Shan O Mac. Shane is in there. AJ creeps down from behind one of the other vehicles, waits for Shane to make his way. AJ pretty much blindsides Shan O Mac, and I mean, he just gave him a serious mud stomping. AJ tossing him into a concrete wall, then tossing him head first into the car, one of the rear window back seats of the car. Glass just shattering all over the place. We see producer Fit Finley. He comes over there, tells AJ to back off. We quickly see security personnel, medical staff. They're all coming to Shane, trying to see if he's okay. It pretty much goes into a commercial break after that. I thought that was just really awesome placement. It was awesome. I love the way that whole thing had went down. And as we come back from commercial break, we pretty much are following up what happened with Shane. He's being checked on by a WWE trainer. Finley also has some police officers there. The trainer mentions that it looks as though Shane has a scalp laceration and that he's going to need to go to the emergency room. But Shane, he really is not trying to have any of that. He's not trying to go that route just yet, but they're insisting. Shane's standing tall, though. He is standing his ground. So they say, okay, you know what? Well, let's go ahead. Let's take you at least to the trainer's room. Let's get you checked out a little bit more. Maybe see if we can run some tests. So he's escorted to the trainer's room with the help of 2 police officers. Meanwhile, we go to a backstage segment where we see AJ Styles, and he's pretty much getting dressed. He's got his luggage. He's getting ready to roll out. You see the Usos and you see some other guys. They're like, what the hell were you doing, man? What the hell were you thinking? Do you know that, like, it is so wrong to put your hands on someone of authority figure like Shane McMahon? Like, you just went to a whole new level, man. That's like totally wrong. Well, we see AJ Styles get confronted by Daniel Bryan. And AJ Styles says to him, so, like, what? What are you going to do now? Like, seriously, what? Are you going to attack me or what? What are you going to do exactly? You going to fire me? Bryan says, you're damn right. That's exactly what I'm going to do. You're fired as of right now. Get the hell out of my arena. Get out of this building. Daniel Bryan actually has police officers escort him out, as that pretty much had set up another commercial. But that definitely would be it for AJ Styles for a majority of the night. Now, look, storyline wise, I must admit, SmackDown has the better product for a vast majority of the weeks. It's just a better, well-executed show. The storyline continuity, the matches, everything is just seriously on point. So SmackDown, very rare do I have a problem where it's kind of like, But for me, respectfully, I gotta go in this direction, which is, look, Shane McMahon, at least up until this point, he has not been a part-time wrestler. He has been in a management type of position in the WWE, correct? Right. So, keeping that in mind, to basically see AJ Styles put his hands on a authority figure, that is like hitting a new level. That's like hitting a new low. I would like to believe that's like going below the belt significantly. So for me, I really kind of had a hard time processing the information of, okay, so not only is AJ Styles fired, but he's being escorted from the police. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but as soon as I saw the police, I'm thinking AJ Styles is going to be arrested and he's going to be fired all in one night. And that actually did not go down like that. So I was actually quite surprised that it was just, you're fired and he's escorted out. If we're going to go that route and we're going to make it really come off as though, hey, look, Shane McMahon, he's not a wrestler. You put your hands on an authority figure. He does not have any type of a in-ring contract whatsoever. What you did was totally off the limits. Like, what you did was out of bounds. And you have to pay serious consequences as a result. I would have been fine for that, but I mean, to each its own. Not everybody was really kind of like, yeah, maybe he should have been. But I tell you what, when I put the tweet out, definitely had got a couple of retweets. So I don't know, maybe great minds are kind of thinking alike with regards to that. But I tell you what, if we're really going to push this, I would love to see some type of a scenario come about where, honestly, you go on the WWE.com website, and if we're really going to go that route, then we really should have a image of AJ Styles right now on the website that says Daniel Bryan has fired AJ Styles, or you have something that says AJ Styles released by the WWE. I mean, if we're really going to go there, then let's really freaking go there. Now, I have not watched Talking Smack because when we are airing live for you guys, Talking Smack doesn't come on for like about probably not for the first hour of our show. So I don't know what happens with Talking Smack until really after the fact. But I would like to think that maybe that's going to get cleaned up just a little bit. Like maybe Daniel Bryan will address what happened with Shane McMahon to close out Smackdown, which we'll talk about in just a quick second. But I thought, honestly, despite all that, that was still a really good segment. It really got me very intrigued. And okay, so we got this AJ Styles Shane McMahon match. Okay, I see we're going to go there. I like the story that's being told. Now, how are we going to flip it back to Shane? And it was really awesome seeing a defiant Shane McMahon come out at the very end of SmackDown, even though he got abruptly cut off by Chris Lee Knows Best, which I honestly could give a fuck about. Like, I have not watched that show. I don't give a flying fuck about the commercials for it. I just want to watch my Raw or SmackDown. I'm not even checking out the USA Network for the rest of the week, other than those two shows. I think a majority of you all are probably like that as well, although some folks was like, hey, Shooter was actually a pretty decent show, and then not to mention Suits, Mr. Robot. Yeah, those shows are kind of good as well. I've seen a couple of episodes of those, but I'm really not watching the USA Network like that 7 days a week. No, it ain't happening. Not even for the movies. I'm not checking it out like that. So to see Shane McMahon pretty much come out at the end of the night, he's got a microphone and he says, AJ Styles so concerned about not having an opponent at WrestleMania. Well, he has one now, and it just abruptly ends like that. Now, for me personally, do I think it's kind of odd that, like, we got Raw, they get like 3+ hours, they get to end at the 5-minute, 10-minute, 15, 20-minute, 30-minute mark, and then we got SmackDown always cuts off promptly at 10 p.m. Eastern. Well, I think when it's all said and done, I want you guys to understand something. With Raw being the flagship show, they definitely are getting in a lot more ad revenue when it's all said and done, because understand this, what WWE is doing for the USA Network right now, they are presenting live entertainment programming. And that is very expensive. That is more expensive than doing something that's pre-taped, mind you, because this is now like more spontaneous. You don't know what could possibly happen, even though it is
script-wise, it's a predetermined episode that you're watching. The matches, the outcomes, everything has been predetermined. The action is still legit to a certain extent, right? But I believe in my heart of hearts that when it comes to Smackdown, yes, that is a live show as well, and it has been able to do wonders since it moved to its live format. I think the way WWE potentially may have their contract structured with the USA with regards to Smackdown, they have to cut off at that 10 p.m. Eastern mark. I think very rare. There's been a couple of occasions, just maybe a small handful, where I've seen SmackDown go into overtime by like about 5 minutes or whatever. But for the most part, SmackDown is ending promptly at 10 p.m. Eastern. It is a tight ship that they run. And honestly, I don't have a problem with them running the tight ship like that. I really don't. I mean, honestly, what more needed to be added to Shane McMahon saying what he said? If I were to add anything, I wish the commentators could have chimed in and said, what exactly does that mean? Does this mean that Shane McMahon is going to issue a challenge to AJ Styles? Does Shane want to face AJ? What does Shane mean by that exactly? Because to those, there's two different ways you can honestly look at it. Now, the majority would say, okay, Shane McMahon wants AJ Styles, but still, just to kind of have the commentators come in there and say that, I think that really would have heightened what you're watching with your very own eyes even more. But I love the journey that they told to get up to this point when it's all said and done. I love it. I thought it was great because when we first heard about this weeks back, a lot of us were kind of like, how exactly are they going to tell this story? Because just hearing these two names, it's like, no, like, this is one-sided. This is AJ Styles, hands down. Like, how the hell can you get into this? And you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, Shane McMahon, he's really a spot fest type of a guy. So how are you really going to... But seeing how everything had played out last week going into this week, I must say, I am intrigued. I'm intrigued tremendously. Some other key points from this week's SmackDown. John Cena, Nikki Bella, they took their little short verbal jabs at Miz and Maurice as they did another installment of Miz TV. Basically, we had the Miz, Maurice, talking hot trash. They pretty much were just following up on what they had said on Talking Smack from last week, which was freaking phenomenal, by the way. I can't stress it enough. You guys got to go out of your way. You got to check out Talking Smack from last week to see what had went down with Miz, Daniel Bryan, their back and forth. Probably like one of the biggest bombshells that had dropped was at one point, we have Miz saying to Daniel Bryan, mocking him once again, how, oh, well, you can't wrestle because you got a little boo-boo with your head. And Daniel Bryan comes right back and says, can't, or they won't let me. We'll see in like about a year and a half. And poor Renee Young, she's trying to do everything she can to like steer the conversation. Like, you could just, I don't know if that was really organic, like if Renee was just genuinely trying to like get the ship back on track or what, but she genuinely came off like, okay, this isn't like where we're supposed to be going. This is like too off the script here. But that was just an awesome freaking moment in itself that led a lot of us to wondering, like, okay, what exactly is going on with Daniel Bryan? Is Daniel Bryan, like, possibly going to be wrestling in about a year and a half? What exactly is going on? Because he's pretty much just spilled out there when this current contract or arrangement that he has with the WWE is going to be wrapping up. We know that there was a period of time where Daniel Bryan was working vigorously to train. He was working on a new style of in-ring wrestling. He's been doing a lot of cardio. He's been taking up a little bit of weightlifting to a certain extent. So if you ask me straight up, would I personally love to see Daniel Bryan back in the middle of the ring? Of course. Who would not want to see Daniel Bryan back in the ring? Who wouldn't want to see him? But those concussions, the multiple doctors that he had went to,
And the doctors that were like, well, yeah, you look pretty good, you're okay. But then to come across that other series of doctors that was like, no, we can't get you cleared. And then you got WWE, they're like, no, we can't clear you. So, for me personally, even if Daniel Bryan could wrestle smarter to the point that he does everything in his power to make sure that he does not take any type of head bumps whatsoever, all it can take, unfortunately, is just one significant bad head bump, and there's no telling what could possibly be the outcome of that long-term wise for his health. So I think it's a really huge risk that he would be taking. And I mean, quite honestly, in this day and age where we have lawsuits being thrown out left and right over concussions, I just don't know if WWE would really be willing to go that route. Like, even if Daniel Bryan were to say to them, look, you put any stipulation in the contract as far as you all being off the hook, you all will not be liable for anything that happens to me. Like, even if he were to go that route, I don't see WWE obliging. For a wrestling promoter, look, the wrestling promoters, yeah, the ROHs, the New Japan, they probably would be willing to say, that's a risk that we're willing to take. We'll make sure that we put you with some of the best workers that we have so that you're protected at all costs. I could kind of maybe see them taking that risk because they're all about that nice, big, heavy payday. But that's the thing. It's all about that payday, and then everybody's moving on to the next event. I think when it's all said and done, Daniel Bryan has a really good, sweet deal that's going on with the WWE right now. You got to think about your kid when it's all said and done. I told you guys once before, many times over the past couple of months, with regards to this whole animosity that Daniel Bryan and The Miz has. I've always said to you all, what is the end result for Daniel Bryan and The Miz continuing to go at each other on a week-to-week basis? What is the end result? Is it being done more to enhance The Miz? Or is the story that's being told eventually to get Daniel Bryan back in the ring and maybe have some type of a possible retirement match against The Miz? Is that the route that we're maybe going to be taking? So I don't know the answer to that. I really wish I had that crystal ball and I can just look into the future for you guys. But one thing that I do know for certain is Daniel Bryan is about to become a father pretty soon. And his time, his attention is going to need to go to that child that is shortly going to be coming into this world. So any idea of a Daniel Bryan coming back to the ring, I honestly would have to say that, look, a lot can happen a year from now. Let's maybe talk about it then. But as far as 2017 goes and next year, I'm just not seeing anything happening. Let's revisit this maybe summer of next year. But I'll tell you what, I'll tell you this much. And I've actually seen a few people that have brought this up, and I couldn't agree with this assessment more. Does it kind of remind you of what went down with Shawn Michaels? Now, look, anybody that was an Attitude Era fan remembers this vividly. But I recall that period where Shawn Michaels, he had walked away because of all those accumulated injuries that came about with him over the years, and his back was just really screwed up. And like, Shawn admitted that like his back was just so messed up that like all it would take is probably just one bad match and he may have like some serious back problems for the rest of his life. And we were like, Shawn, do what you got to do to physically be healthy, man. Just be there for your family, be there for your kids. You've given us so many great memories. And a lot of us were really bummed out when he rolled out that first go round. We all felt that it was very premature, but we understood exactly what was going on with him. We also knew at the same time he had some demons that he was battling, and he really needed to get his life squared away. He really needed to get his shit together. So there were a lot of us back then, like, and picture this, during the Attitude Era, we're pretty much all like teenagers, young teenagers, and we comprehended, we understood what was going on with Shawn Michaels. And we just were like, man, we miss him. We want him back, but we understand what's going on. But it wouldn't be a week that would go by that like one of us was imitating the super kick or sweet chin music or doing the trademark elbow from the top ropes or cutting a Shawn Michaels promo and doing the pelvis thrust, all that jazz. So when we finally saw Shawn Michaels come back, and I mean like come back, where he did that infamous match against Triple H at SummerSlam, we're like, holy crap, he's actually going to do this. And to see that whole match, we were like, holy crap, for a guy that's wrestling in his jeans, eat that. Everybody's like, oh, Dean Ambrose and the way he wrestles and the fact that he comes out in shirt and jeans. My pretty babies, Shawn Michaels was first. To the point that when he first came back, he was going around calling himself Sean. What's his real name? Hicklebottom or something like that. He was actually calling himself that when he first came back, believe it or not. And like he slowly tried to get into the whole HBK thing, but like I remember that infamous SummerSlam match with Triple H. We were like, wow, for a guy in boots, for a guy that has really short hair, because he did not have the ponytail, if I remember it correctly, and he had on jeans, and he had on a little muscle tank top shirt, the man could still go. It was a street fight, and we were like, yeah, Shawn still got it. And then when Triple H just came in with that sledgehammer, we knew the sledgehammer was like, it was either a fake weapon, or we knew that the way Triple H was doing is suspension of disbelief, right? But just that act that went down, we were like, oh man, hope his back is okay. But then even rewinded before that, I mean, Triple H was doing some serious work to that back. And you couldn't help but go, shit, he's got back problems. Is he going to walk away from this okay? Or is he going to be in a wheelchair like Christopher Reeves? What the fuck is going on here, man? But he came out of that okay, and knock on wood, the powers that be, they blessed him. Like suddenly he was doing whatever. At that point, it wasn't DDP yoga, but he was doing something. Not drugs or anything, but he was doing something. Therapeutic work, massaging. I don't know what the guy was doing, but he was doing something, and miraculously, he was able to give us a few more years of great in-ring action. And honestly, when I compare it, everybody has their favorites when it comes to Shawn Michaels, but for me, what edges out more is the second coming of Shawn Michaels, more so than what we saw of him in the Attitude Era. That's just me. Call it for what it is, but it's a matter of opinion. It's a matter of taste. But that's where I come from with regards to that. So, I mean, honestly, with regards to Daniel Bryan, I'm sure now that I've put this out there, if you didn't think it before, you're probably now kind of saying, yeah, Lee, you're kind of actually onto something right there. It definitely reminds me a lot of that. For sure, the Triple H quad injury. Anybody remember like the really, really first quad injury that Triple H had? And when he came back at Madison Square Garden and U2, it's a beautiful day, and he comes back and all that jazz. Like, remember what he was told? The doctors were like, this is it. Like, when you get this surgery done on your quad, like, that is it. Your in-ring wrestling career, it is over as far as you know it. And Triple H was like, the hell it ain't. It ain't over until I say it's over. He did not wallow. He wasn't in sorrow. He's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to prove these doctors wrong. And he came back. I mean, the guy came back from like not one quad injury, not even two. Didn't he come back from like 3 knee injuries or 3 quad injuries or some shit like that? So, I mean, like, but still, when Triple H came back from like that first go round, a lot of us, even after we had heard what happened with him, and we're like, man, maybe it's over. Maybe it really is. And then we started seeing the vignettes. We're like, this dude is fucking ripped. Like, and see, that was like the first major injury that Triple H ever had in his career, where he was sidelined for a series. If I'm not mistaken, guys, he was gone for like a year. Was he not? Triple H was gone for like a year. So see him come back after a first major injury, we're like, okay, he's taking this rehabbing seriously. Look at his fucking build. We weren't really concerned. But then once he had the second knee injury and he was doing his thing with Stone Cold Steve Austin, 2-man power trip, and that pretty much had ended prematurely, we're like, okay, yeah, Triple H cares about his health and everything. Okay, but this is now number 2. Like, is this guy going to be okay? And then from then on out, every time he was doing the spine buster, in particular, every time he was doing the running knee strike, in particular, every time he was doing the pedigree, we always wondered if his knees were going to give out. Then when the third quad injury had went down, or knee injury went down, we're like, what the fuck, man? Like, what's going on with H? And like, even though now Triple H is at that point where he pretty much will wrestle like once a year. Maybe he'll do like 1 to 2, maybe 3 at max house shows just to get ready for WrestleMania. When it's all said and done, you know, he's really not wrestling like that anymore. You still can't help but kind of be like, you know, is he going to be okay? So Daniel Bryan, for his decorated career, out of his own mouth, he admitted that he has had concussions in the past, but like never was it like to the extent that WWE's like, nah, man, your in-ring career, it is over, baby. That's it. We just can't risk this anymore. And the fact that a bunch of these other concussions happened that you didn't tell us about, yeah, man, like that's, we're playing Russian roulette. We can't really go that route. So I kind of look at what's going on with Daniel Bryan almost in the same breath as some of those examples. So only thing I gotta say is, let's see what happens a year from now. Maybe it'll be a different story. We shall wait and see. But other than that, I love what happened with Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton. Bray Wyatt pretty much telling Randy Orton via Titantron that he baptized himself in the ashes of Sister Abigail. I mean, he is coming off a little bit more, you know, the line begins to blur right here, because on the one hand, like, you feel for Bray Wyatt because of what Randy Orton had did, basically destroying the Mecca that is where Sister Abigail was enshrined. And like, you feel sympathetic towards Bray Wyatt because here you have this demonic, sinister character that for the first time in his career is showing a compassionate human side to himself that we really have not seen before, where he is passionately hurt by the action of one Randy Orton. The line begins to blur as far as who exactly are you supposed to be rooting for and who exactly are you supposed to be booing. But here on this night, you know, it almost kind of came off as though we now know who exactly we need to be cheering for and who exactly we need to be rooting for, as Randy Orton says what I said some months back, which was Randy Orton is basically just, if you can't beat him, join him. You can never trust a snake. DTA, don't trust anybody. That sound familiar to you guys? Orton basically admitting that, like, what he did was very ruthless. It was very cunning, but that it was the only way, that it was the only course of action that he could take to get at the heart of Bray Wyatt. And he said, you know, honestly, there was several months back where, you know, I had some opportunities. I could have attacked Bray Wyatt anytime with an RKO, but man, that was just simply too easy. Honestly, for me, the game plan was trying to figure out what would really hurt him the most. And the plan to join the Wyatt family, that was just part of the equation. But to get as close as he was able to get to Sister Abigail, that for him was pretty much the icing on the cake. And again, this is going to be for the WWE title. But Bray Wyatt, he showed up saying, you know, hey, look, man, the rainbow taste the Skittles. No, I'm joking. But no, you know, Bray Wyatt cutting his little promo, you know, basically said, Randy Orton,
I was naked and stripped of my power until I found my way back home, or at least what's left of it. You may have burned the soul of Sister Abigail, but when it's all said and done, I should have known better, Randy, for Sister Abigail is the spawn of Satan. She was forged in hell itself.
Man, I mean, that was just some sinister, diabolical shit that I just was loving when it was all said and done. And just to see him baptize himself in Abigail's ashes, that was just fucking phenomenal. I love that shit altogether, man. Other than that, decent in-ring action. No matches really stand out to my mind, quite honestly, from Smackdown this week. A little bit on the average side, I would have to say. Becky Lynch defeated Natalya. Mickie James defeated Alexa Bliss. And Mojo Rawley, he defeated Dolph Ziggler. And there was some tag team action as the Usos defeated the American Alpha. It was a non-title matchup. So those of you wondering if those tag belts were on the line, no, it wasn't happening. So other than that, for 205 Live, for you guys that were not able to catch it tonight, if you maybe have it planned on your not DVR, but if you're going to be checking it out on the WWE Network, I should say, I'm getting ready to reveal the winner of the Fatal 5-Way Elimination match. So if you guys don't want to know right now, I would suggest you mute this and come back in about 30 seconds, and I will be done talking about this. Your 30 seconds begins to pause and fast forward right now, or come back in about 30 seconds in 3, 2, and 1. So, spoiler alert, your winner for the Fatal 5-Way Elimination match that consisted of TJ Perkins, Tony Nese, Brian Kendrick, and Akira Tozawa to face WWE Cruiserweight Champion Neville at WrestleMania in less than 3 weeks. It is the one and only Austin Aries. I don't know about you guys, but that should be a classic and phenomenal matchup. I think, honestly, this was a no-brainer once we saw Austin get thrown back into the mix. Yeah? So we will talk next week about how the WrestleMania 33 card is looking. Again, for those of you, I'm trying to respect that did not get a chance to check out 205 Live yet. We'll talk about it again for you guys on next week's episode, man. So other than that, see some other stuff we can talk about. So I saw an interesting question from my boy Reza. Reza, shout out to you, and shout out to everybody else, by the way, that's been leaving those reviews on our Facebook page. If you have not left a rating and review for the RCWR show, you know you can do it on iTunes, you can do it on Stitcher, but most importantly, and where I really want you to show the most love right now, is on our Facebook page at facebook.com/the RCWR show. And one of the main reasons why I definitely want you to leave a rating and review over there, preferably a 5-star rating and review. And remember, if you don't want to leave that just yet, you need me to work on something, leave a visitor post on the page and let me know what I need to do to earn that. And I'll honestly let you know if I can do that or not. But Reza, the reason why is because, like, you're spreading the good word about the show. Not to mention it's helping a lot more of folks East Coast, in particular in the DMV, help discover the show with more ease, mind you. So definitely show that love. But shout out to everybody that's been leaving the rating and reviews. Y'all have really been we're like close to 10, man. I can almost taste it. We're almost close to 10 reviews. I want to get to double digits. So get out there, give those ratings and reviews. But Reza wants to know, how do I feel about these 4-way and triple threat matches? He mentions that he loved the idea that I had about a gauntlet match with the Smackdown Women's Championship. He understands that WWE wants to include as many superstars as possible on the WrestleMania card, but lack of good writing and lack of long-term story arc planning is what produces these clustered battle royals, 3- and 4-way matches, in his honest opinion. So, yeah, I mean, when I look at the card right now and I check out some of the matches that we have that's coming about, honestly, I'm looking at the card as it stands right now, and we have We got one match that has like a bunch of participants. We got two matches that has a bunch of participants. We have the Andre the Giant Battle Memorial. Honestly, I am fine for it right now. I am totally fine for it right now because with regards to the SmackDown women's side of things, when it's all said and done, look at who you have. You got Carmella, you got Natty, you got Becky, you got Alexa Bliss. I almost said Alexa bitch. I am so sorry. But you got Alexa Bliss. Mickie James is going to be in there. I don't know if Naomi is maybe going to be able to come back in time. I'm not really sure. I would hope that maybe this would be an opportunity to debut some new women to the SmackDown side of things, just to kind of make things a little bit interesting. But honestly, the real story that, you really don't have enough of, okay, let it just be about these two women for the SmackDown side of things. Now look, don't get it twisted. The SmackDown side of things with their women's division has been a lot better than what's going on with Raw, because over on Raw, other than Charlotte, we ain't got really nothing that's going on over there. But I'm actually totally fine with the fact that they're going to do this, and I still like the idea of a gauntlet. I hope that's the route that they're going to be going for that SmackDown women's title. It's just an open gauntlet. Any female that decides they want to wrestle that night for the SmackDown roster and face Alexa Bliss for the title, I really hope they kind of like go that route. Do I see a new champion crown? Yeah. The Andre Giant Battle Memorial, we've already known how that's going to be going down, so I'm not really tripping over that. Triple threat match, Enzo Amore, Big Cass taking on Sheamus, Cesaro, Gallows, Anderson. I'm actually okay with this. I actually am. You gotta capitalize on the momentum that Enzo and Cass have. You also gotta capitalize on the momentum that Cesaro and Sheamus have. So I'm actually fine with that whatsoever, because the verdict from the jury, it's still a little bit out when it comes to Gallows and Anderson. Only the hardcore fans give a damn about Gallows and Anderson. Otherwise, they really don't have that much of a reaction whatsoever from the crowd, sadly. The triple threat match for the Raw Women's title, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Bayley. You ask me, I wish it could just be straight up Charlotte, Bayley. I really wish that was the case. What I'm looking to see come about in this triple threat match for the Raw Women's title is Sasha Banks showing her true colors. I've been waiting patiently for that, because the face experiment, it just honestly has not been working. And it was good for the first couple of weeks, but after the honeymoon, it pretty much was like, So what else is new? And I think it's just honestly the way that the Sasha Banks character was being utilized on Raw when it's all said and done. I think if the writers could have done a few things quite differently, I'm sure they wouldn't have gone down the route that they did. But yeah, we got this triple threat match. Honestly, Bayley needs this right now. Like, I know some of you guys probably may say, well, Bayley shouldn't really be involved in the picture, because honestly, what I'm seeing, like for a girl that came up from NXT and she was the big talk down in NXT, I'm just not really seeing it right now. Do you think maybe they made a mistake bringing her up this soon? I've always been a firm believer, when opportunity knocks, you gotta seize the opportunity, and you gotta smash, grab, and take it, baby. That's how I've always operated. So Bayley, in these next coming weeks, she's really gonna have to seriously step her game up. I don't know if maybe Charlotte has a WrestleMania moment and she gets that title back or what, but I'm honestly fine with what's going on with the entire card right now. Because remember, at the end of the day, WrestleMania is supposed to be all about having a little bit of something for everybody. Trying to do your very best to please everybody as far as like the talents that everybody wants to see. And honestly, when I look at all the names that's currently involved on this card right now, for the most part, it's talent that in some shape or form a wrestling fan gives a damn about. It's got a little bit of something for everybody. I mean, you got people that love Tender My Balls, and Tender My Balls has his respected fan base. Like, hey, I'm scratching my head on that, but Tender My Balls has his fan base. It is what it is, man. Apollo Crews, I think that guy is boring, just like Boring Corbin. But you know what? You've got fan pages, you got sites dedicated to those guys. They've got their respected fans. So WrestleMania is really all about gathering up the talents that honestly have been doing their part in somewhat carrying the workload for the company all year long. And I'm totally fine for that. I mean, think about it. When it's all said and done, would you prefer a situation where, oh man, these goddamn fucking part-timers, and meanwhile, blah, 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 worked full-time, and blah, 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 worked full-time all this year, and now they're on the sidelines and they just gotta watch from their hotel room? Like, that's not fair. No, this actually has to be like one of the first WrestleManias in a long time where, like, everybody that you have seen on your television pretty much all year round is going to be involved in WrestleMania. And there's just happens to be a little bit of room for some part-time guys. Now, I don't like the report that's floating around right now with regards to the Universal title match between Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg, as Dave Meltzer is reporting that this is probably going to close out WrestleMania, and there's rumblings that this match is probably going to be as short as the other encounters were between these two. I really, really hope that's not the case. I hope that it's at least a 5, 10, up to a 15-minute match. Wishful thinking. I don't think it's going to go down that way, but I hope something is pulled out that, like, fans, like, did not see coming, that they actually can get excited about and everything. So, you know, we shall wait and see how that all comes about. See what we're doing right now. Joe, Veterans Day is a long time. Joe, I'm not picking on you or anything, but I'm just now looking at the question that you have. Joe, Veterans Day, if I'm not mistaken, does not happen until November. So as cool as an idea as that is, that's basically like saying to me, hey Lee, what do you think about a trip to New York City just for shits and giggles in November? And it's March right now. I'm sadly not going to remember that, Joe. But what I can tell you is, I promise you, as Veterans Day gets a little bit closer, if you bring that up, as I said on last week's show, if I'm not mistaken, I'll entertain the idea. Whether or not I'll actually go that route is a different story. But asking me if, like, because I don't want it to be like confused. I don't want to say like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, and it's like fast forward some handful of months later and it doesn't go down. Then it's kind of like, well, shit, I forgot. So what I can say here on this very night is sounds like a really good idea, but do me a favor and bring it up when Veterans Day gets a little bit more closer, and I may entertain the idea. You know, it just really comes down to, quite honestly, who exactly could I potentially talk to, with regards to Veterans Day, things of that nature, quite honestly. But I mean, you don't need me to interview somebody on Veterans Day. I mean, quite honestly, you want my realest truth? Those of you that take for granted Veterans Day, I think you really need to recognize the fact that Veterans Day is a day of reflection where you offer gratitude for something that we really hold. Sometimes I think we really don't cherish it as much as we should. I think it's something that we really take for granted, and that's our freedom. There are a lot of men and women that go into the military and they're willing to put it all out there on the line at the command of our president, our commander-in-chief. And some, they're able to come back to their loved ones. Others, they get lost. You know what I mean by loss? They're either missing in action or they die in action. And that's a tough pill for the family to have to somehow pick up the pieces and try to get on with their lives. But, you know, it's really something that we take for granted. And over the years, I've always told you guys, if you see somebody that is in uniform and you happen to bump into them going into that week of going into that week of Veterans Day, let them know that you appreciate what they do for our country. Because in other countries, it's like, you know, we're fortunate to have the rights that we're able to have. And that is why our country continues to be a beacon of hope for so many other countries, despite everything crazy that's coming about right now, man. What do I think about AJ Styles, Shane McMahon, street fight? No, that's probably going to actually need to be more reserved for possibly Brock Lesnar, Bill Goldberg. Quite honestly, maybe you could get away with a no disqualification for Shane and AJ Styles, but you know, if you were to just do look, when it's all said and done, there's no way it's going to be a straight up wrestling match, because just think about it for a second. If we're going to just talk about a straight up wrestling match, AJ Styles would just bury the hell out of Shane McMahon. So you're going to have to put some type of a gimmick over it, but you can't do it in a way where it may overshadow the Bill Goldberg Brock Lesnar match. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. So I think if anything, it may be a no disqualification match when it's all said and done. I think the only way that it should go, or you flip it, you give Brock Lesnar Goldberg the street fight and let them truly fight all around the fucking arena. Or you give the honors to Styles and Shane and you let them really go all balls out all the way around the arena, restroom, a concession stand. You let them have at it. But you got to make sure that whatever you do, the placement of that match does not overshadow what's going to be coming about with Goldberg and Lesnar. That's really my only concern right now. So I'm actually more curious as to finding out what's going to happen with that Lesnar Goldberg match in the weeks to come. Are they just going to leave it as it is, just let it be a straight up match? And it's like, what, these two guys are actually going to wrestle, or are you going to put some type of a gimmick match behind it? We shall wait and see when that comes about. Other than that, there was like another question that I saw that I wanted to get into. Let me see if I can actually pull it up real quick. Smackdown wasn't the AJ versus McMahon, but the story about how extreme Shane McMahon can be at main events made me intrigued. Good point, Razor. Good point. Let's see what else we got in here. Just scrolling through the comments, guys. Don't pay me no mind here. I'm just scrolling down here, checking out some more stuff. And I don't see any more questions. Wait, what's that one? Arena security. Yeah. They could have been arena security, but I mean, Razor, like, you see where I'm coming from, though? Like, with regards to going back to that whole Daniel Bryan segment and all that one more time. Just still, like, if you're going to go that route, I don't want for people to miss what we saw presented to us tonight. Let's totally be honest. Suspension of disbelief and kind of mixing reality. If in real life you put your hands on an authority figure and you honestly are not authorized to put your hands on them, what's probably going to happen? The cops are probably going to get called, and security is probably going to get called, because security is going to make sure that your ass gets escorted out of the property. But at the same time, in conjunction of that, typically what will happen is that person that has called the cops, they then decide if they want charges to be pressed upon you or not. So for me, like, when I just really look back on that whole segment, like, I don't know, for me, I just really wish a scenario would have occurred where Daniel Bryan would have been like, look, not only do I have security here that's going to, like, escort you out, but we've got cops that's waiting for you outside. Your ass is going to be arrested right there on the spot because of what you did. Even though this is private property, even though you are in-ring talent, you are here, you know, you're supposed to be performing in the ring against opponents. And Shane McMahon has no in-ring competitor contract whatsoever. Just tie up those loose ends is pretty much my whole deal. Do I think Undertaker's match is we hear this every year, and I'm not trying to dance around this, but I mean, when it's all said and done, I don't know. I really do not know. What I like to see, I think the question you need to be asking is, would I like to see Undertaker retire? Based on what I have been seeing physically of his health over the years, especially what we've gotten this calendar year alone, I really would honestly just like for Undertaker to do what he needs to do to physically get himself up to moderately at 100%. And if he wants to come back out there and do another match, if he feels he can come on out there and do what he did like 5 years ago, have at it, man. But the Undertaker that, as a fan, I have been seeing these past couple of times, I'm not really enjoying what I'm seeing of him physically. So I'm very curious to see how this match is going to hold up with Roman Reigns in less than 3 weeks. I'm very curious to see if a scenario is going to occur where Taker is really going to allow for Roman to try to tell the pace of the match, to take the lead a little bit more, or just how much Roman Reigns is going to slow down his speed, his in-ring ability to really try to complement Undertaker, but most importantly, try to protect Undertaker as much as humanly possible. That's what I'm more interested in right now. So we'll wait and see how that comes about. Interesting WWE poll that came out right around the weekend. The question was asked, if The Rock were to have one more match, which current superstar would you like to see him face? I want to share with you all the results so far and give you all my take on who I'd like to see The Rock face one-on-one. So at number 8, we have Dean Ambrose with 2% of the votes. Coming in at number 7, it's actually a 3-way. 3% of the votes going to Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, and John Cena. At 6, we have 4% at other. At 5th place, it is a tie with Bill Goldberg and The Undertaker. At 4th place, it is with 12% of the votes, Roman Reigns. At 3rd place, with 13% of the votes, it is Brock Lesnar. At 2nd place, we have, with 14% of the votes, Triple H. And at number 1, we have the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. So let's home in on those top 3. AJ Styles with 24% of the votes, Triple H with 14% of the votes, and Brock Lesnar coming in at 3rd place with 13% of the votes. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really liking this. Kind of interesting to see Roman Reigns coming in there at number 4 and Goldberg's coming in at number 5, but interesting results so far. I mean, if you were to ask me straight up who I personally would love to see The Rock face one-on-one, I'm a little bit conflicted because I so would love to see The Rock AJ Styles. I feel in my heart of hearts that would be such a classic encounter. The promos alone with those two guys. I mean, if you would have given me the AJ Styles that had first came into the WWE, I would have said, no, he's trying to find himself right now. He's trying to find his little niche, carve it out in the WWE. Not right now. No. I would have said hell no. But to see his evolution and where he is right now, I think him and The Rock would give us a very memorable feud, let me tell you. And just the fact that it is a fresh matchup, yeah, hands down, I'd love to see that come about. Now, the nostalgia act in me would love to see Brock Lesnar from the standpoint I still remember infamously, because I remember how much of a profound impact it had on me and my friends, SummerSlam 2002, which was the infamous match for the WWE undisputed title between The Rock and Brock Lesnar. And we all knew, because we were checking out our wrestling magazines, our newsletters, we knew that The Rock was going to be leaving shortly after that for his career in Hollywood. And man, to just actually go back and watch that pay-per-view in real time as it happened. Not that with WWE editing it, because now you can go watch it on the network. No. To actually watch it raw, the emotions that was coming from the fans in attendance at that SummerSlam. Rock was booed out of that building. They could not stand that guy's guts. They felt betrayed. They wanted to see that title off of him. This was their moment, because they were like, look, we still got Brock. Brock's here. He's young. He's hungry. He's up and coming. Man, fuck you, Rock. We don't need you no more. You betraying us, man. So it was just, the match itself was fucking awesome. And the program built around it, leading up to it. It was awesome. But for me and my friends, for the longest time, we always wanted to see The Rock and Brock Lesnar go at it one more time. And I tell you what, if they can dust off the cobwebs from what went down at WrestleMania 20, storyline wise, between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, then surely you could do the same thing with Brock Lesnar and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But I think that would just be a phenomenal matchup in itself right there, to have one of the most iconic figures that is currently in high demand right now in Hollywood, taking on a guy that was like the force to reckon with in MMA, and just the unstoppable force that he has had since he's been in the WWE, when you just add up his years overall. And for Rock to really kind of have that blemish on his record, first encounter that he locked it up with Brock Lesnar, he gets his ass handed to him on a silver platter. Yeah, I would love that. There's definitely some stuff right there. Also most intriguing to me is the Triple H match. I mean, let's really be honest right here. Do you guys realize that the very last time The Rock and Triple H faced each other one-on-one, just home in on that, not no fatal four-way, not no triple threat, just one-on-one on a pay-per-view card, you got to go as far back as Judgment Day 2000, the infamous 60-man minute Iron Man match. That was the last time these guys had faced each other one-on-one. Now, legend has it that The Rock never beat Triple H cleanly in the middle of the ring, but Triple H sure as hell beat The Rock cleanly in the ring a few times. But just the fact that it had been that long since The Rock and Triple H had locked it up, factor in the somewhat, I guess you can say, legend has it, rivalry, bitterness that is amongst the two. It's almost kind of well documented to a certain degree. I mean, these guys, every time they've locked it up on TV, and it's been very rare, they have delivered some pretty memorable, intense segments. So yeah, there's that nostalgia act in me that would really love to see a Triple H, AJ Styles go at it. Now that I've said that and I've homed in on those three, which one of those would I really love to see go down? Hands down, I have to go with AJ Styles. AJ Styles edges out to me more because AJ Styles, it is a fresh new matchup. These guys have never locked it up before, whereas you can easily go back. You can see all the times that Rock locked it up with Triple H. You can see that brief period where Rock had locked it up with Brock Lesnar. It's almost a tie for me between AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar, but I'm definitely leaning more towards AJ Styles. Fresh matchup. Their match alone, I feel in my heart of hearts, would be a match of the year type of caliber for sure. But then just the promos alone between these two guys, especially where AJ Styles is right now in his career, and just the rub that he could probably get off The Rock as far as like taking his improv and promos to that next level. Ooh, talk about a really great rub off. So I would love to see that go down. I'm curious what you all think of this poll, and based on the results that you've heard so far, who would you like to see The Rock face off of this list And you know, this is something that had escaped my mind for a couple of weeks, and I'm glad that I'm talking about it right now. Maybe a little bit old, but I really don't see that many people talking about this. So let me dive into this for just a hot minute, and then we'll move on to some other headlines. So anybody remember former WWE diva Celeste Bonin, aka Kaitlyn? Well, she had announced in late February that she is splitting from her husband, PJ Braun. They got married back in June of 2014. So Bonin said that she was hoping that the split would be amicable, but noted that PJ Braun took ownership of the domain name of her fitness clothing company, which is Celestial Bodies with 1Z.com, and shut the website down. I can verify for you guys as of tonight that the website is still down. So instead, she made a temporary domain for the website. Same name, but there's 2 Z's at the end of bodies.com. And she said that she hopes to have the old domain back in the next day or two. Well, it's actually been a couple of weeks now since this all had went down. She did apologize to her fans and everything for what had went about. You know, honestly, that's just really unfortunate. It's really kind of just my 2 cents from a distance without going overkill on this particular topic, but it really kind of comes off to me from the standpoint that PJ Braun is kind of coming off a little bit bitter, if you will, now that he's no longer going to be able to have any type of say, any type of control in what honestly was probably a decent amount of revenue that was coming in for that respected household just off of what Celeste was able to do with her WWE career for the brief period that she had it as, and what she was able to do building off of the momentum from that post professional wrestling. So really kind of comes off from a distance that, like, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I'm not trying to say that he's a money grubbing whore or whatever like that, but it really does kind of come off very petty. Almost kind of reminds me of what had went down with Why Did I Get Married Too? Anybody remember Janet Jackson's character and Malik Yoda's character in that movie, and how they were husband and wife, and now that they were getting the divorce, Malik Yoda's character felt that, well, shit, he should get half of everything because Janet Jackson's books wouldn't have been anything without him being involved, without his input, creative input, you know, helping out within the decision processing, all that good jazz. So, true story. I remember when Celeste was first released by the WWE, there was no longer a non-compete clause in her contract. We were actually one of the first ones to reach out to her. And just to show you how much micromanaging was going on back then, and I'm actually kind of glad that Celeste kind of backed away from it, because again, my 2 cents from a distance, but I'm usually never wrong with my 2 cents. The husband really came off very controlling. To the point, I remember when I initially had reached out for an interview request, this was some years back now, I remember the husband had replied, and he was like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, we'd love to do this, this would be really awesome, yeah, we can definitely set this up, we'll definitely make this happen, yeah, let me know what times and dates are good for you, what do you have? He was very friendly, and I remember Tammy, cause she'll ask me from time to time, is there anybody you want to get on the show to interview? And I'll say, well, yeah, here's the list of names I'm thinking about. And she works her charm, cause she actually has a little bit of a bit of a side career work in public relations, cause largely in part it's what she does for a living. So she just happens to know people that know people. She knows how to make the right connection. So when it's all said and done, I told her I was interested in trying to get Celeste. The interactions that she had with the husband, very friendly. Came time to set something up, the husband was just like ice cold. I remember Tammy let like 2 weeks pass. She hit him up again and was like, hey, just following up with you. You said you were interested in working with us, trying to set up an interview. And at that point, his demeanor kind of like changed. We never said anything derogatory about Kaitlyn. You can even go as far back to pulling up old content of ours on the YouTube channel. We never said anything negative
about Kaitlyn. If anything, we just really wanted the best for her, and that was pretty much it. So even back then, and I remember Tammy kind of telling me he's really kind of coming off a little bit controlling to a certain extent. And I was like, controlling in what way? And she was like, well, maybe I'm kind of wrong, but like, it just really kind of seemed odd that like he's doing all of the handling for her, all the booking and all that for her, when she actually should be the one that should be doing it, because she's the one that's the wrestler after all. That was kind of like the perspective. So to hear that things are kind of like not amicable right now, I mean, you would hope that with any marriage that ends, that when it comes to getting a divorce, everything could be very peaceful. Look, you just keep your shit, I keep my shit, and it is what it is. I was very fortunate enough to have that with my now, God rest her soul, deceased ex-wife. But not everybody can have it like that. So I really hope in the weeks to come, Celeste is able to squash this. And in some other related headlines, it looks as though Jack Swagger has officially been released from the WWE. I don't really think this is like shocking to anybody. Yes, when it's all said and done, a lot of hits, a lot of misses with regards to the career of Jack Swagger. Definitely some moments that really should have been capitalized on when he was in the WWE, the We the People, but that really blew up in his face when he had got that DUI marijuana charge. He really honestly quite was never the same after that. Some would maybe look at that pinnacle point as the very last time that Jack Swagger had any type of relevance as far as elevation on the card at that point in the WWE. So what could happen next? He's saying big things are going to be happening. Swagger fans, stay tuned. I don't know if that means maybe he's going to hook up with his real life girlfriend / fiance wife that is involved in the adult film business. I don't know if maybe those are the big things that he's talking about, or what is Jack Swagger doing in the Impact Zone? Kind of find it a little bit convenient that for the longest time, Dutch Mantel has had that infamous photo of him and Swagger. Could that maybe be a taste of things to come? Who possibly knows? Is Swagger maybe gonna go over to New Japan? Who knows? But yeah, a lot of missed opportunities there for Swagger. It's just one of those what if, like the comic book from Marvel, or what if like the Creed song, like what if, we'll never know. Another interesting note, Leo Kruger, Adam Rose, he is now done, or at least he's hoping to be done. He pretty much made the announcement on Twitter over the weekend that he's going to be done with pro wrestling before the year is up, keeping it short and simple. There's another guy that honestly, he had his 15 seconds, I'm not saying minutes, he had his 15 seconds of fame after he was released by the WWE. Honestly, when that whole wellness violation had went down, and then that pretty much eventually led to his departure from the WWE. It wasn't his choice. WWE just said, look, we want to be done with you. His career was never quite the same after that. Yeah, he did a couple of interviews, he did a couple of shoots, but that pretty much was it. He faded out real quick. So I think it's honestly a case where he's kind of finding that, hey, I'm like in my late 30s, early 40s, and honestly, like I'm no Alberto Del Rio. I am no Christian. I'm no Booker T. I'm no Mick Foley. And honestly, I think he's really starting to see that as far as trying to continue to make some type of a living off of being a professional wrestling, it's now a little bit harder than he had anticipated. So honestly, best thing he can do what he can to be there for his wife, be there for that special needs son that he has. I'm sure the son would greatly appreciate it now more than ever, to pretty much has his daddy back on a full-time basis. So, whatever he decides to do, if it really is the end of a professional wrestling career for Leo Kruger, best of luck to the guy when it's all said and done. Hey, real quickly, I had Saul bring it to the table. I mainly watched it just to see the Kurt Angle interview, and I gotta say, I was really kind of disappointed. And I should have known that it was just going to be like a quick 2-minute tease, as Corey Graves had alluded to the fact that there's going to be much more of his sit down with Kurt Angle, and there's going to be a 24/7 documentary on Kurt Angle that'll be forthcoming in weeks. So honestly, I'm all fine for that. I would think maybe the night after WrestleMania or that week,
post WrestleMania. Maybe we're going to see it then come about. We shall wait and see. But it was a decent installment of Bring It to the Table. I'll actually talk a little bit more about that exclusively on YouTube. So shout out to Epic Sports. Definitely make sure you check out that exclusive audio clip that we're going to be uploading on our YouTube channel to share with the good fans over at Epic Sports, because I definitely want to get their input on what they thought about the Bring It to the Table. Other than that, I see this stuff that had went down with Ezkiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys, and I gotta say, I really was just taken back by this news that had came about. Now, for you all that maybe aren't into football, you guys don't really know what I'm talking about. I just kind of want to recap this in a nutshell, put a pretty little ribbon around it, and then we're pretty much going to call it a day. But Ezkiel Elliott, he was seen on video exposing a woman's breasts during a party at a bar for Dallas St. Patrick's Day parade. This is according to TMZ. Now, the report states that a representative for the running back said it was all good fun and that the woman wasn't mad at Elliott. The rep said the woman continued to hang out with Elliott and his friends after the parade ended. But, even if it's true, this is still a little bit like, because Elliott decided to expose a woman without getting clear and concise consent. Meanwhile, as all of this is going on, Elliott, who's 21, is currently being investigated by the NFL for a reported domestic violent incident that had occurred July of last year. Now, Elliott wasn't arrested or charged by the police in that matter, but the NFL, they're saying, well, look, we're going to continue to investigate this, and if we find that some type of action needs to be taken against Ezkiel Elliott, then we will take that action. So when I heard this, I just put my head down and I just shook it in shame, because I'm going, well, wait a minute. When I was 21 years of age, I knew right from wrong. What guy in their right sense, in their right frame of mind, doesn't know right from wrong? Everything in life, I've always believed, is a choice. It is a choice. And to just hear about this history with women, bear in mind what went down with this woman. This is like the second incident involving this same woman, mind you. So hearing that and then combining that with what we just found out went down with that Dallas St. Patrick's parade, try saying that 10 times fast. I just really worry if the fame that has come and the money that has come for Ezkiel Elliott has kind of got the best of him, and it's maybe shaping his mind in a way where maybe he perhaps feels that he is untouchable. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so you kind of can't help but look at what is being bestowed upon him from his parents. Like in particular, what is being passed down to him from his dad. I believe his dad is still in the picture. So I'm just really disturbed when I hear this news. I mean, 21 years of age and you're a professional athlete. Look, my advice to Ezkiel Elliott, you may not want to be a role model, but that's exactly what you are right now in the minds and eyes of youngsters that take a liking to watching the NFL, especially those that, honestly, for them, it's quality time with their family. It's quality time with the dad. It's quality time with the mom or cousin, grandma, uncle, whatnot. So you really have to think about the image that you're putting out there. I mean, my friend, it doesn't matter if you're off the clock and you're away from the field. It's 2017. There are cameras everywhere on every single cell phone that's out there. There are cameras. So you always have to be mindful about what you are doing. If it's in the privacy of your own home, and well, you know what? That's different. That is more of a controlled environment. So that's entirely different. Anything goes. But when you are out there in the public, you really, really have to be careful. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the NFL, they tried to maybe slap Ezekiel with some type of a fine.
I really wouldn't be surprised by that, just to kind of give him a little bit of a slight slap on the wrist. I really don't see Jerry Jones doing anything. If anything, I can hear maybe in the coming days, Jerry Jones saying on his weekly radio show that he talked to Ezkiel Elliott, they have an understanding, blah, 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 blah. But I don't see Jerry Jones disciplining this young man whatsoever. I think if anything, it's really going to come down to the NFL. It's going to come down to the league and deciding whether or not some type of disciplinary action needs to be taken against the young man. But I really hope that going forward, this really gives him a wake-up call. I wish I really don't, but I can only hope, as I'm optimistic like that he will wake up and really, really start paying more attention to what he does, what he says, and how he performs in public, even when he is away from the bright lights, the cameras, all that good jazz, the interviews, all that. Let me get to some other topics, guys, because we're already at the 2-hour mark, and there's still a lot more content that I want to dive into. We're already at the 2-hour mark. We'll probably go about I'm willing to go another 20 minutes, and then we'll pretty much just wrap it up for tonight. So I want to touch upon this whole thing that had went about with Reby Sky, the Broken Hardys, Anthem. My God, what a crazy fucking week that it's been. So we pretty much had shared most of the information that came about over the weekend on the Facebook page. But this whole Anthem, Impact Wrestling, the Broken Hardys, it's just really taken a life of itself. So last week, we told you guys how Reby Sky, she put out a series of tweets basically bashing Impact, bashing Anthem, bashing Ed Nordholm, who is like the CEO, chairman or whatever of Anthem, and how they basically conducted themselves in dealing with new contracts for the Hardys. Go listen to last week's episode to get yourself caught up to speed. Well, we had the Ring of Honor 15th anniversary pay-per-view event that came about over the weekend. And, you know, there was like another series of tweets that had came out. As in a nutshell, Anthem, they had sent a cease and desist letter to all cable satellite pay-per-view providers telling them, hey, if you're going to air your Ring of Honor 15th anniversary event, understand something. With regards to the Broken Hardys, yeah, well, we have intellectual rights over that gimmick. So if you air this pay-per-view, we will sue you. Shout out to all the cable satellite providers. They pretty much were like, man, fuck this. We're going to do what we need to do. Dish Network, with the exception of Dish Network actually caved, and they pulled Ring of Honor's 15th anniversary from pay-per-view, saying they would issue refunds to all the customers that had ordered it. But like, you go, damn, come on, Dish, what the fuck, man? So, Reby, busy at work, going on social media, just having at it. Let me just read to you the series of tweets that she had put out. She was on Twitter for like about 30 minutes, putting all this out there. Laughing my ass off. Fuck you guys. At Nordholm, Jeff Jarrett, Impact Wrestling, more than happy to play this game. Can we just talk about how many times Matt's contract could have been broken due to numerous issues on TNA's end and never made a fuss about shit? But motherfuckers want to try and come at us now, after the fact. Don't you have an owl to promote or some shit? Or, I don't know, a company to make great instead of acting like little petty little bitches you are? Speaking of petty, nice video package of TNA's history with no visual or mention of Jeff, who gave his all for 7 years, or Kurt. But y'all sure made sure to get those 2 video ID shoots of Jeff Jarrett in there. Laughing my ass off, but it's just business, brother. Right. Petty. Everything these boys have done for the company, and you want to try and fuck us for the sake of it. Literally no reason except you mad. Laugh out loud. How about my husband leaving me a day after giving birth to make your TV tapings? That's how dedicated motherfuckers was to the company.
How about the 3 highest rated TV segments of 2016 were financed by Hardys solely to help the product and because they believed in TNA? Or all the shit talking by Jeff Jarrett throughout contract negotiations and Matt was still there, professional, and trying to make things work for 2017. Oh, and the best part, these motherfuckers trying to come after Senior Benjamin. Senior Benjamin, my dad, by the way, who was never paid a dime by the company and who obviously was never under contract. Yeah, shit got real quick with Reby Hardy putting out these series of fucking tweets, man. I'm telling you what. Not that those contracts things mean anything to TNA until after they're over or until 3 days before they expire, apparently. Funny thing is, everyone who ever actually had anything to do with the broken Matt Hardy has our backs on this. What does that say about you? Damn near 20% of your roster leaving in the span of a week, all citing the same reasons or none at all. What does that tell you? And then a fakeness wishing you well tweet from Ed Nordholm mere hours before threatening to sue us. Such a fitting end, man. Seriously, you couldn't write this shit. Well, TNA couldn't write this shit. Any writers worth a shit left too. Real cute how TNA can go radio silent for weeks with the exception of non-cynical drunk tweets from Jeff Jarrett, but we get a 2-hour deadline to respond. Fuck you think this is? Taken? Laugh out loud, I can't. If you're wondering what we're going to do next, watch ROH, hashtag Ring of Honor 15th. And we already told you about what went down. Now, Reby followed up on that about Anthem putting out those cease and desist letters. She basically said TNA sending spooky letters to cable providers threatening to sue if they air Hardys, trying to screw ROH and ruin wrestling for fans. Hardys just existing and providing for our family, mind you. I think they believe their own birth certificates at this point. TNA trying to ruin wrestling for all fans out of spite, but contracts are up. You let them expire, remember? You don't own these boys. Irony is, Matt's contract did not include exclusivity. Did I say that right? Exclusivity. Yeah. Exclusive. We get it. Could have legally appeared on any televised program while under TNA contract. Don't ever want to hear anyone talk about burning bridges when this move, which fucks Ring of Honor and cable providers, leaves the most ashes behind. TNA would rather destroy biz relationships with ROH and cable providers for the sake of trying to fuck the Hardys. Think about that. Who is going to want to work with you now? I mean, with the exception of Global Force Wrestling guys coming to Impact tapings for $20 towards Greyhound Fair. Pay-per-view was pulled by Dish Network because Impact Wrestling threatening to sue the pay-per-view providers that aired the pay-per-view, as we had mentioned earlier. So, I mean, you hear that, you're just like, what the flying fuck is going on right here? And really, when you get down to the heart of the matter, what really set this off was the fact that Anthem, they never did do the trademark for the Broken Hardy gimmick. But Matt Hardy recently, within like the span of like 2 weeks, he has filed the trademark for the Broken gimmick. And so the way Anthem is feeling right now, they're going, okay, look, when it's all said and done, this guy is basically leaving us, which we don't have a problem with him leaving. Him and his brother, his wife, whatever, father-in-law, they want to leave. They want to go work for other wrestling promotions. We don't have a problem with that. But what we do have a problem with, and where we need to draw the line as a business, is the fact that when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, no matter how that 100% needs to be divided as far as, well, who came up with the most ideas for this character, Impact Wrestling was the platform where Matt Hardy was given the opportunity to work on fine-tuning this character. And it was so widely popular that here he was in demand, going to every single other wrestling promotion that was out there. And honestly, when it came time for renegotiations, they wanted to get 10% out of the bookings. You know, it almost kind of reminds me of what had went down with Vern Gagne and the Hulkster back in the day. Lord knows what only could have possibly happened had the Hulkster continued to stay in AWA, because Hulkamania was like about to fucking explode. I mean, you just pretty much you knew something special was going on when you saw the Hulkster in the AWA way before he went to the WWF. But I remember vividly that one of the things that Vern Gagne had wanted for the Hulkster to do was he wanted to sign over a certain percentage of not only his merchandise sales, but he also wanted a certain percentage of any media opportunities that he was given, any movies and all that. In the Hulkster, he just was like, damn, dude, you're just taking like a little bit like too much for me. You're being like way too fucking greedy, because like I'm the one that's going out here and I'm doing all the fucking legwork. And I mean, quite honestly, outside of the AWA, all this other stuff that I'm doing on the side, you know, that's pretty much all me. So like, no, I should be able to keep all this money. What the hell are you talking about? And Vern Gagne he was not feeling that, and the Hulkster wanted out. Word got up to Connecticut, and Vince, he wanted him some Hulkster. And Vern was just pissed. He was so pissed. If I'm not mistaken, legend has it that he actually had tried to, I think, have the Iron Sheik. If I'm not mistaken, it was either the Iron Sheik or some wrestler he wanted for them to legitimately break Hulk Hogan in the match that they were going to be having, so that basically will put him on the shelf for X amount of time. A little bit of retribution for basically the Hulkster betraying Vern and the AWA. At least that's how the legend has that story being panned out. So I'm really reminded of that when I think about what's going on here with Anthem and the Hardys. I mean, I respect the fact that they're trying to protect what honestly at the end of the day, yeah, to a certain degree, they too are involved in the creative process. They definitely provided the platform for the Broken Hardy characters. I mean, come on, when it's all said and done, 2015, there were no Broken Hardys. All those years that the Hardys were in TNA, there was no Broken. No Broken came into play until 2016. And yes, you had some great riveting TV at a certain point in time. It did kind of play itself out. It did kind of get a little bit too cartoony. It did kind of get a little bit too slapstick silly towards the end. But you definitely had TNA fans that were hearing about this, or you had wrestling fans in general that were hearing about this and was like, I gotta get in on this. This is fucking insane. Like, this is like, what's everybody talking about? Like, I gotta see this. And then they're hooked. The Hardys was the reason why they even tried to invest in the TNA brand. So I can respect what Anthem is trying to do, but also when you look at the guys that have left TNA and they were able to take the gimmick that they had. Now, I see the argument that's put out there, well, TNA didn't come up with any gimmicks whatsoever. They didn't. Well, look, you got to think about the It Factor, Bobby Roode. You got to think about Eric Young. You got to think about Austin Aries. You got to think about the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. You got to think about Samoa Joe. All these guys that I mentioned, even the Cowboy, James Storm, when you look at all of these guys that I mentioned, when they all had left TNA and they came on over to the WWE, it was a continuation of their character. It was a continuation of their gimmick to a certain degree, or blatantly a continuation of their gimmick with 100% certainty. So for TNA to be in the position that they're in, and Anthem's like, man, we got these guys that's leaving, but like, look, they're possibly going to make like billions of, not billions, but they're going to be able to make some good fucking cash off the platform that we provided to them, where, you know, they got this character that's clicking and they're in high demand. Yo, man, we should get a little bit of that kitty. We should get some of that pot. So I understand their standpoint. I really, really do. I'm not picking sides, but just from a legal aspect, I totally understand where they're coming from. And they actually have somewhat of a case. Yet, at the same time, if they did not do their part in copywriting and trademarking the Broken Hardy gimmick, that is their fault. That is their fucking fault. And Matt Hardy, Jeff, they all are in the right. If TNA Anthem, if they didn't know how to put two and two together and try to get the trademark and the copyright for that, that's their fucking fault when it's all said and done. So, I mean, quite honestly, do I see any type of a resolution coming about from all of this? I mean, just the way things are going right now, I think when it's all said and done, honestly, when it's all said and done, I believe in my heart of hearts that Reby, and I respect the fact that she wanted to get this out there. She wanted for there to be truth. She wanted for the fans to know what exactly was going on, why things are so tense, why the Hardys left TNA, which honestly they felt was providing the best opportunity for character development, scheduling. It was a really great thing that they had going on. They basically, through Reby, I think, really just wanted to let it be known, hey, look, we're not to blame for this. And look at how petty this company is being towards us right now. It's fucking ridiculous. So I totally understand. And yes, Reby makes very, very valid fucking points, which is like, hey, TNA, when it's time for you to air your fucking Slammiversary pay-per-view and you're going to be looking for the cable providers, you know what? Those cable satellite providers are now going to be like, gee willikers, you know what, man? I kind of remember that time where you gave us a cease and desist letter telling us not to air that Ring of Honor 15th anniversary pay-per-view, and you want us to plug your Slammiversary, and or you want us to plug your Bound for Glory. Yeah, just at this point in time, we aren't going to air it. No. That is how you fuck up business relationships. I mean, quite honestly, when it's all said and done, as far as a resolution, I would personally love to see the Hardys, Anthem sit down and basically say, look, what do we have to do to make this right? Look, what do we have to do where everybody walks away happy? Can we come to some type of resolution where monetarily, you get what you want, but most importantly, we get what we want? So I don't know if things can get to that point. I tell you what, with Reby spilling the beans on everything that's coming about right now, it's definitely getting more uglier and uglier by the day. I would like to believe that Reby may be at this point done putting all of that business out there. Now that she's basically cleared the air and it is what it is, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe she's a little bit silent after this. Although I must admit, I do love the Fuck That Owl shirt that is currently for sale right now on the Hardy's website. I love it. It's fucking hilarious. But this is going to continue to be a developing situation, and I'll definitely stay on top of this for you guys. But I would just like to believe that, going forward, that these guys, once a couple of weeks have passed, cooler heads have prevailed. I would really like to think that everybody can just sit down and really try to let bygones be bygones and not do this whole drawn out, silly ass lawsuit thing. I mean, court costs alone and employees are waiting to be paid. You're pissing off cable satellite providers. You're promising, you're trying to swear all up and down it's a new era for TNA. And it's like, which brings me to another point. There was this fan that was saying Impact Wrestling had blocked him on social media over the weekend. And I say, well, that doesn't make any sense, especially after what Dutch Mantel had said, where honestly, he wants for you all to get at him all throughout social media, speak your piece about the product, because at the end of the day, it's all about the Impact Wrestling fans and doing their part to make Impact Wrestling great again. So this guy on Twitter makes this big deal out of Impact Wrestling blocking him, and at first I'm like, wow, that's fucked up. That doesn't make any sense. But you know, the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, what did you say? What did you say to get yourself blocked? So I actually went on his Twitter timeline, and yeah, man, when you just sit up and say TNA fucking sucks, and you single out a particular wrestler and you say, please tell me you're not with Impact Wrestling because that's the drizzling shits. I really miss you back in NXT. And then you single out Jeff Jarrett, Ed Northam, Impact Wrestling. You know, you don't do just type. You actually do the @ symbol so that they can see it, and you're bashing them. You're not giving constructive criticism. So you can tell me till you're blue in the face, I've been watching Impact Wrestling since 2002. Okay, that's great. But how are you when it comes to offering constructive criticism of something that you see from that particular brand or any other wrestling promotion? Beyond, this sucks. This is the drizzling shits. Well, let's put you in the hot seat. What is it that you don't like, that you find, that's making it the drizzling shits? What is it that needs to be improved on? Offer constructive feedback in ways that you would like to see that wrestling promotion improve. If all you're doing is just basically coming off saying shit, fuck, this is the drizzles and all that other shit, yeah, you probably are going to get blocked. Seriously, you probably are going to get blocked. So I just think it's kind of funny that some people are kind of twisting it the way that they're kind of twisting it. But, you know, hey, whatever, man. It is what it fucking is, man. So other than that, let me see here. We're doing pretty good on Showtime still. I'm just going over synopsis for this episode. See what other topics I wanted to dive into tonight. By the way, shout out to Christopher Daniels, who became the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. This is like the first time in his illustrious career that from a major wrestling promotion, when you think about New Japan, WWE, Ring of Honor, you know, you can even put TNA in there to a certain extent. When you think about how long Christopher Daniels has been involved in the sport of professional wrestling, it goes back to the early 90s. You know, originally he wanted to try out for acting, and he actually had moved to Chicago, you know, my home city. That's where I was born and raised, man. So that kind of lets me know in part why I kind of got along with Christopher Daniels, or why I've taken a strong liking to Christopher Daniels, because of that Chicago connection for one, and then just how much of a cool supporter and fan I've been of his after all these years. I was ecstatic when I found out. I did not see 15th Anniversary. I tried to see if I could order it on pay-per-view. I didn't have the option. I don't know if maybe that was because we got the cease and desist letter for Verizon customers or what, but I wasn't able to see it. So now it's like a situation I'm gonna have to go out of my way and wait till it comes out on DVD and see if I can try to own it that way. And who knows, maybe I can reach out to Christopher Daniels and see if maybe he can sign my copy for me or whatever. But I was very ecstatic to hear that finally he won a major title from a major wrestling promotion. I couldn't be more happier for him. He defeated Adam Cole for the title at 15th Anniversary. You know, I've got nothing but kind things to say about Christopher Daniels. That is a man that honestly should have been in the WWE. And if you had listened to a recent episode of Bruce Pritchard's podcast, Something to Wrestle With, he talked about how the powers that be back in the day with regards to WWE, that originally it was going to be Christopher Daniels. I'm talking about like during the Attitude Era. If it was during the Attitude Era, I believe it was during the Attitude Era. And like Vince McMahon took a look at the character, and he was like, the Christopher Daniels character, and he was like, no, we so are not like going that route. No, he's too small, and Vince just pretty much had shot that down. But I'm really happy for Christopher Daniels. There was a really great conversation that I had with him a couple of years back, and we pretty much had touched upon the subject of
why he thought he never had became a TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And then we kind of expanded it a little bit as far as like why he felt he's never become like a world champion for a major wrestling promotion. And it was just honestly one of those things where when I asked him the question, he was just he answered the question very eloquently, but it was just something that even he couldn't answer. It was like, it baffled him. And, he didn't really go into the specifics. He definitely did not bury anybody when I asked him the questions that I asked him. But it's still just when you look back on his career, you're like, wow, this guy like never was a world champion for any of the major promotions that's out there. Like, what the hell? Talk about a streak. I mean, you talk about streaks. I don't know whose streak was much longer, his or Suzanne Lucci, when she finally was able to win a daytime soap award, right, for Best Actress. So I'm really happy for him that he finally had got his big moment. And I know Christopher Daniels fans were just rejoicing over that tremendously when they have found out the news. So special shout out to him. I know he had, I think he favored the tweet because I actually tweeted him directly. So it was nice to kind of get that nod because I think that might have been his way of kind of letting me know he remembers the show. He remembers coming on the show. I remember that interview. I mean, it was really popular on the forums and all that. And it was one of those rare occasions where I was actually face to face, not face to face in the sense of I'm right beside them, but face to face, you could see me interviewing Christopher Daniels. So if you guys never saw that interview, it's actually on the YouTube channel right now at youtube.com/the RCWR Show. Just look up the guest exclusives playlist and you can check it out that way. But I'm really, really proud of that guy. And just to hear that at one point he was thinking about going into acting, and he actually had moved to Chicago to try to make it happen. He was there in Chicago around the early 90s, and that would have been a really great time for him to get into acting because, think about it, who was one of the most popular actors back then during that time frame? If the first name that really jumped out in your mind was Steven Seagal, pat yourselves on the back because, yeah, Steven Seagal, he just was like, man, all the movies that he had put out back then during the 90s, that guy was on such a hot fucking streak. I mean, you go as far back as, God, you go as far back as Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, Out for Justice, Under Siege, On Deadly Ground, Executive Decision, Exit Wounds. I mean, the guy was just on a series of streaks of really good movies, but in particular from the late 80s into the mid 90s. Yeah, if Christopher Daniels, I honestly believe if he would have stuck to acting, he probably would have started off like as a henchman, probably getting his ass beat up by getting his ass beat up by Steven Seagal. I could like easily see that fucking happening. I could have eventually saw him maybe having some type of a criminal guest role on one of those Law and Order shows. It's just kind of interesting how the world kind of plays out when you really think about it. So yeah, but again, really happy for Christopher Daniels. Great fucking weekend, man. Great fucking weekend. Other than that, see some other topics I want to get into before the show's out. I'm still looking at the show notes here. Let's see. Do I want to get into these particular topics? How much showtime do we have left? We're at the 2-hour, 30-minute mark. I would love to get into these particular topics, but that's going to have to be a cliffhanger. I'll tell you what's going to happen. What's going to happen is, because I know if I talk about these topics next week, it's going to be a little bit too old. So let me do this for you guys. I'm going to kick back and I'm going to marinate. And I do believe, I'm like 90% certain, either I'm going to release some exclusive content on YouTube, or we're going to do a bonus edition of the RCWR Show. I'm leaning more towards a bonus edition of the RCWR Show. If I do decide I want to do a bonus edition, what'll happen is I'll actually release that bonus edition probably on a Friday
That way you all have like all weekend, pretty much going into next week, to check that out, because there's a lot of other topics that I really wanted to get into, but sadly we are out of time. I did not touch upon the Jack Swagger release. I didn't touch upon Leo Kruger saying he's going to be retiring. I didn't even touch upon the Bring It to the Table. So yeah, we're definitely, I'm leaning more towards we're going to do a bonus episode of the RCWR show for you guys. So we got Impact Showdown. That's going to be coming back. That went into effect as of last week. You get to see me live in the flesh on YouTube, but the audio version is available shortly after the live stream concludes on the multiple usual platforms. So that'll be coming at you all again this Thursday night. We'll be covering Impact Wrestling Fallout, so that'll be pretty fucking awesome for you guys to check out. I'd keep doing the show, but I think 2 hours and 30 minutes is enough, not to mention I got to get up for work in the early AM because we got all this black ice that's out here right now. So my commute may have to begin a little bit more earlier rather than sooner, or correction, rather than later. So yeah, we'll do another installment for you guys. I don't know if I'll do the RCWR show live on Friday. I think what I'll probably pre-record it, and then I'll just go ahead and release it that way. Yeah, so I'll probably sit down Thursday night and I'll pre-record, and then I'll just release it for you all to check out on Friday, and then we can have at it that way. So those of you that's going to be waiting for this episode, give me about 20 minutes. I got to tack on some extra stuff, and that's going to do it. Special shout out to our sponsors. Until Thursday's Impact Showdown, wishing all y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. See you all next go round. Everybody, do take care. Good night, good morning.